your style right, but first you ask
Do
one.
I have a style?
Well, first you ask one lady her age, right, which is tight. Okay.
I did it in badness for the crack.
I know that. I know, but pick your badness. Then you did the second lady age.
Yeah.
And then you got to sit. Then you got them sit there and guess other women's ages. I mean, it was just an absolute cluster.
Other men as well. There was men involved.
Was there a man in there?
There
as well?
was a couple of boys in there.
You're really gilding the lily today.
I know why, but sure, there's no holding back. You're lucky I'm not doing your program.
No, that's a very good point.
Yeah, there'll be libel cases all over the place. There'll be sues. Caroline will just love me working with me.
She'll be gone.
She would retire early.
I'm going.
Come here, you let me down. I'm very disappointed in you. Really,
Talk to me
like,
a bit
you know,
more about that.
because you're my go-to person when I ask questions.
Yes.
Like I asked you a question the other day, and I told everybody to give me the answer. What was it
question?
about? Mind that question was
Bath dam.
Huh?
The bath dam, was
The
it?
bath dam. There was something else as well, and you came good. And it says you're going to come good for this. With
your bubbly
dishwasher.
Dishwasher.
You didn't.
Okay. No one texted in.
Not one bothered.
No one texted in. So
Nobody
Gooch
cares.
has got a dishwasher where he puts a regular dishwasher tablet in the door, switches it on, and it's full of foam and suds at the end of the cycle.
It is.
And no one was able to help because
No.
maybe you're the first person in the world ever had this problem.
Maybe I am. And it says Greg will be able to do it for me.
I'm sorry. I'm normally the
Because I wanted to go home and bring good news to be in the good books.
Well, listen, we've thrown it out again. This is obviously something that's...
This is the last chance saloon here, Daddy.
Why is his dishwasher soaping and foaming up at the end of its cycle? He's not putting
It's a new dishwasher, newish. Yeah. 6 months old, 7, maybe 8. Huh?
Maybe it's possessed.
Possessed.
Yeah. Is there a smell of it?
Daddy, no, there's no.
Does it make any noises?
It makes a washing machine noise.
All right.
But it's a dishwasher.
All right. Okay. We'll try and get a result for you. Okay.
Thanks. Don't let me down.
I won't let
I'll
you
hold
down.
it against
it's
you.
Not me. It's the listeners.
No,
I don't know. The listeners will let you down.
I'm looking at you now.
All right then. Take care. Lee Gooch back with you tomorrow morning at 6:30. It is 9. Let's get a news update. It's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Opposition leaders are meeting this hour to consider a motion of no confidence in the Cancorla. More disruption is expected in the Dáil later, with both sides at an impasse over speaking rights. It adjourned yesterday amid chaotic scenes, which included independent TD Michael Lowry being caught on camera making a gesture with his 2 fingers. But Transport Minister Darragh O'Brien says that's been exaggerated.
I think that's all been overplayed. I've just seen the picture. Paul Murphy, by the way, who was the one who was recording in the chamber, which isn't allowed, by the way, again, showing incredible disrespect to the chamber. I think that's being overplayed. I think Deputy Lowry himself will answer for that. Look, I've seen the picture. I wouldn't do it myself, okay? I think Deputy Lowry will answer for that himself.
It's emerged occupational therapy waiting lists in Donegal are more than double than what was previously believed. Councillor Declan Meehan has received clarification that instead of the 476 people he was told last month were waiting on occupational therapy, it is in fact 1,037. The HSE says an administrative error led to the incorrect information being provided to Councillor Meehan. He says recruitment remains a huge issue in the ongoing delays.
There are 11 vacancies in Donegal, and at the last meeting I was informed that they're expecting a further 2 vacancies in OT by April, which is only around the corner. So those 13 vacancies need to be advertised. Now, in February I was told that those vacancies were being advertised on a rolling recruitment basis locally. And when I highlighted the fact that they weren't, they said that they would look into it. It's now 1 full month on, March 25th, and those vacancies are still not advertised.
There's calls for works to be carried out to improve access to Mullajarg Beach in West Donegal. It's after a recent collision in which a caravan overturned with a child narrowly escaping injury. Councillor Micheál Colmcille Asbach says it's vital that measures are implemented to ensure the safety of all beachgoers.
We need to make sure that the visual lines is a lot clearer. The idea that people who walk on it on a regular basis that could get knocked down, get hurt or worse. We've seen the circumstances where the last accident on it was that we had to get the fire brigade and the ambulance out and unfortunately there was a bad accident, and here we're raising it with the council to make them visual lines a lot safer.
Donegal is among the most affordable locations in the country for first-time buyers to purchase a house. Longford is the most affordable, while Dún Laoghaire in Dublin is the most expensive. Research by Switcher.ie found it would take an average couple 21 years to save for a deposit for a home in Dún Laoghaire compared to 1.5 years in Longford. Other expensive areas include Wicklow, Kildare and Dublin City, while Leitrim is also among the most affordable. Finally, for weather, any mist and fog will clear this morning, leaving a largely dry day with plenty of cloud and just limited sunny spells. Highest temperatures of 12 or 13 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Jane is finally 7. Today her bike felt like it went 100 miles an hour and her hair was as beautiful as a mermaid's. For her birthday, Granny gave her some money to put into her savings book. Jane plans to save up for important things for when she's older, like a unicorn. From the moment you start saving, it feels good. For over 100 years, Ireland's state savings has helped people of all ages to save, with as little as they like, for as long as they want. Pick up more information at your local post office or search Ireland State Savings. Ireland State Savings. It's a good feeling. Terms and conditions apply.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. Approaching 5 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday. It's the 26th of March. I do hope you're very well indeed. We're all feeling pretty good in the office today. I hope it's the same for you. We've a busy show coming up, and of course we're going to be talking about the scenes in the Dáil yesterday. Did you watch them live? Did you watch the news coverage of them? Have you a view on it? We'll be speaking to a couple of guests in the first hour in relation to that. No doubt the front page picture everywhere is Michael Lowry. He looks like the cat that got the cream, and he's giving a two-fingered salute, which apparently now means sit down. But anyway, I think it's still F off for most people. But we'll be talking about all of that. We want your views. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text to that number. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000 or email comments at highlandradio.com. Quick reminder, you can watch the show if you're at home today. You can watch us on YouTube, on your smart TV or your Fire Stick. Just type in Highland Radio Ireland and we're live there. You can take us in your pocket, of course, on that app. We're on Facebook and on X as well. The Finn Valley Voices front page today. Keely Gordon Mother's Joy is funding secured for disability initiatives. The Keely Gordon mother of a 9-year-old boy with cerebral palsy expressed her delight that promised funding is finally being delivered. Denise McGahan's son Jack, who was invited to a funding announcement that ultimately did not materialise, but recent developments have brought her good news. A spokesperson for Disabilities Minister Norma Foley confirmed that the department has secured approval for an $8 million grant fund which will fully cover costs related to various disability projects. Was it 3.1 million was suggested for some of the organisations in this county. As of yesterday, at least one had not received any official notification, but we shall see. It's like everything, you just have to keep on top of this stuff. We'll see what comes from that. On to the Nationals, and as I say, a holy show is how the Irish Daily Mail describes yesterday. Just as the long-running Dáil speaking rights row seemed to near a resolution. Well, I never saw a resolution on the cards, but in any case, a day of unprecedented chaos in the chamber threw everything back into disarray. The image of regional independent TD Michael Lowry making a two-fingered gesture poured an explosive accelerant onto a political controversy that seemed about to be extinguished. It came amid an afternoon of chaotic scenes during which TD shouted over the camcorla Verona Murphy, and a number of politicians were seen filming the unrest on their phones. That's a direct breach of Dáil rules, by the way. No one in there, be it guests in the galleries, journalists or indeed TDs themselves, are allowed to record in the Dáil, but some did. Ms Murphy repeatedly said that the opposition were making an absolute holy show of themselves as they constantly baracked her while she tried to impose order on proceedings. She told them it was an absolute disgrace for the world to see and that they had no respect for the chair. Moving on onto the inside. The subject of misogyny throughout the day, something that was later rejected by Mary Lou MacDonald. Listen, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Misogyny perhaps would have been not to challenge her like you might a man. It had nothing to do with her gender at all, and I think that's a lazy way of trying to score a political point. But there is just no doubt Michael Lowry, he is happy. And there's a number of pictures of him in the papers today, and he looks like the man that won the day. Miss Murphy, who cut a stern figure in the chamber, had clearly decided that she would not suspend all proceedings until a vote was called on the new rules for the Lowry lobby, as they were dubbed by the Labour Party's leader Ivana Bakic. And you can't really go back on this either. That vote has passed. That's it. There is a new way of doing business in the Dáil. But the Independent does talk of, and we'll get some clarification from this from the chief whip of one of the main opposition parties. Verona Murphy's ability to continue as Cam Corla of the Dáil is in doubt after she was accused of colluding with the government. As chaos descended on the chamber over speaking rights yesterday, her authority was severely undermined and her pleas for calm roundly ignored by opposition TDs. But of course, it would be interesting to see if things were going in favour of the opposition, what the reaction from the government side might have been. We don't know, it's speculation. Miss Murphy told them they were an absolute disgrace and making a holy show of themselves, while Taoiseach Micheál Martin said the premeditated uproar was an attempt to bully and intimidate the Cam Corla. Opposition leaders refused last night to express confidence in the Wexford TD, who they claim helped railroad changes that will give speaking time to independent TDs supporting the government. There's lots more stories in the papers, which I will get to later in the hour. But of course, the Dáil is going to reconvene very shortly. So we have access to TDs now. And there's a couple of issues I wish to speak to. Deputy Pat the Cope Gallagher of Fianna Fáil. Good morning, Deputy. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome, Greg.
I'll start on more pressing local issues, if that's okay. You released quite a strongly worded statement in support of those opposed to the relocation of the Donegal Education Centre. You're of the view that it needs to be retained in Donegal Town. Why so?
Well, first of all, let me say I didn't expect that I would have had to issue the statement. This goes back to the consultation over the last number of months prior to the election, and me in contact with the staff in Donegal Town when they made me aware of the proposed transfer from Donegal Town to Letterkenny, from Donegal Town, where the education centre has served the county well for a period of 27 years, and someone or individuals in the management committee decided that they'd be better located in Letterkenny. Now, none of us can understand that or good reasons for it. In fact, we look for a copy of the business plan and it's all been blacked out when we get it, so we don't really know what the reasons are. We had 2 public meetings in Donegal Town. It showed the strength of feeling, just not by those who are directly involved, but by the many who are indirectly involved, that we shouldn't fix it when it's not broken. After that first meeting, we requested a meeting with the Minister. The Minister met us. She listened to us. She said that it was a matter for the management committee to decide. But and she agreed that she had responsibility for governance. She said she would discuss it further with us. We then were summoned to another meeting, but on Thursday of last week I received a call from Minister Marian Harkin, who told me that the matter was being raised in the Senate, and when it wasn't her direct responsibility, she was asked, as is customary when ministers are unavailable, that ministers of state would deliver the statement. And it was pretty frightening, and that the minister said it was, to put it simply, done and dusted, and a decision had been taken. Now, we didn't meet with the minister since that. We're hoping that she will meet with us, but I felt, due to the lack of communication, that I should issue that statement and make a case for the retention of it.
Why do you believe it should be retained? I mean, obviously, an awful lot of the stuff the engagement teachers and SNAs have is remote. But there is this argument that it would be more central in Letterkenny. A lot of the voices I've heard that want it retained are sort of South Donegal voices, Deputy. Is it do you believe it's in its right location to best serve the teaching community of Donegal in Donegal Town, or is your concern about staff being asked to move, or what?
Now, just to focus in on the question you've asked me, you said about it being remote. Well, if that's the case, then it could be in Tory Island, it could be in Ardmore Island, it could be in Mallinhead. So that doesn't answer the question or substantiate the reason for moving it. It's there, it should be left there. and there's no good reason for moving it. If it were all in-house, you might say, well, we'll move it to Ballybofey, it's more central. But when it was in-house and when there was no social media, when there was no email, it was in Donegal town. And over those 27 years, nobody ever complained. They travelled from all parts, north, south, east and west. And the simplistic answer is, why fix it when it's not broken? And if it is to be moved, then move it to some outlying area. It doesn't add up at all.
You say in your statement,
don't know what the reason is.
Yeah, and of course, as you say, a heavily redacted explanation as to why this happened, which almost it was certainly a waste of black ink and a waste of people's time. You've also said that you're taken aback at the insistence on the part of the management committee at progressing this in advance of tomorrow's AGM gathering, or I presume that's today's AGM now. Is it? What is the significance of that timeline to you? Why do you believe that is? Why are you taken aback by that?
Well, a major decision like that should be taken at an AGM, or indeed, in this case, an extraordinary general meeting. And this meeting is taking place this evening in Letterkenny. And I believe that there should be an opportunity for the many members who can attend this meeting, that they should have an opportunity to make their case. And I've just this morning, just before I took your call, I've sent a copy of my statement to Minister Helen McEntee, pointing out that I'd prefer not to have sent it out. But I feel I'm duty bound to do this if I'm representing the views of the hundreds of people who attended, just not the employees, but the many people who attended.
Okay.
And when we take into consideration, there's a human factor to travel to Letterkenny over an hour back, traffic. Doesn't make sense at all.
You're also,
so I have also suggested, Greg, that if this continues, that when the new Public Accounts Committee is set up, I will be using my influence to try and have it, if it's not resolved, to try and have it investigated at that stage. Okay,
you're also in contact with Minister McEntee as it relates to Scullmore in Milford. Are you of the view that the Department of Education should sanction a new school building on the site that's been acquired locally?
Well, there's a process here, and to go from A to a Z, yes, there should be a new school in Milford. The former Minister Foley, visited Milford last year, in March of last year, and the school authorities informed the Minister that they had a very generous person in the locality who would provide a brand new site for nothing, free gracias. Then the Minister said that she would send out officials to meet with them. They decided that should happen. That took a long time. And then coincidentally or otherwise, the department inspector visited the Milford on the 22nd of November, just a week before the election, and he said that the department would be in contact with the school at a later date, and they were still waiting a response from various emails, and I understand that the process is continuing, but it's at a snail's pace.
But just in relation to all of that, I mean, the Department of Education, and I'm paraphrasing, are effectively saying, look, we're providing you new modular building, we're going to provide new classrooms. Our policy at the moment is to, enhance the sites that schools are currently on. The school have now rejected that new capacity for their students. It seems to be from the Department of Education, if you read between the lines, they might be suggesting, all right, okay, well, but you're at the back of the queue because we have a priority list at the moment. As I say, I'm paraphrasing an awful lot there. Do you believe that is the attitude, and can that be overcome?
Well, I believe it can be overcome, and the one way it can be overcome is by sitting down and talking. The school management, the principal and the board of management, the chairman, Father Stephen, they have their views, and so also has the department. But there's only one way to ensure that progress can be made, by sitting down and discussing this and finding the best way forward for the children of the Milford catchment area.
You've been in the Dáil a long time. How do you review yesterday's events?
Well, would you believe it? I arrived into the Dáil. I was in Scotland. I arrived in yesterday afternoon. I know the workings of the Dáil. I had a lot of constituency work to catch up on, and throughout all of that, apart from going in to vote, that's the only time I was in there, but I was keeping one eye on it on the monitor here, and I've never experienced that in my years here. I'm the only one of the class of 1981 who's here at the moment. Never experienced it. Was in the chair myself. Had a few scraps there, but overcome them very quickly. It's very disappointing, and I think we must find a way forward. And if there are opposing views, I think even though the vote, which now introduces the new reform in the chamber, I don't think it'll work, and I would believe that
Okay, I believe I've lost Deputy Gallagher there. Okay. Right, that was Deputy Pat the Cope Gallagher there. We have Sinn Féin Party Whip Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin on the programme now. A holy show is the front page. How much blame, if any, do you believe the opposition must take for the holy show?
Well, I don't see how any self-respecting opposition, and when I talk about the opposition, 75 TDs, completely united, see this for what it is, an absolute stroke to see through the grubby deal that was done between Micheál Martin and Michael Lowry, to let him pretend that he's in the opposition, to take leaders' questions, priority questions. That was his demand. That was what the government said they would work their way through with the opposition, in agreement with the opposition, and they went back on their word. That's Micheál Martin and Simon Harris. And yesterday they rammed it through. They literally put a wrecking ball through the standing orders and rules of the Dáil at every level. They absolutely rammed this through and gave two fingers to the Irish people. Michael Lowry, those two fingers were from the government, and Michael Lowry to the Irish people and to the opposition. And that's where we are this morning.
Do you believe that the opposition now has less of an opportunity to hold the government or the Taoiseach to account in the Dáil?
Well, the issue is this, and we'll do our job. Like, we're united. I've never seen an opposition as united at the start of a Dáil term. 75 TDs from different perspectives who have said that this has never happened. I mean, never in the whole history of the Dáil have you attempted to put government TDs to take leaders' questions, to pretend that they're the opposition, to take priority questions to ministers.
But do you believe? Do you, as the opposition, do you believe that you will, you're disadvantaged in that you will not be able to hold the government and the Taoiseach to account under these new rules?
Well, I think we're more determined than ever to hold them to account and
with
to do our
respect,
job.
Park, I've kind of asked the question twice. Under this new system, do you believe that your party and the opposition will have less time and less opportunity to hold the government to account on the issues that you disagree with?
With respect, Greg, that's not the issue. The issue for us was never the amount of time that we had, and we will hold them to account. The issue is Michael Lowry was described as a rogue politician. Micheál Martin moved a motion that Michael Lowry should resign from public life. That was unanimously passed by the Dáil, and he has done a grubby deal with Michael Lowry, who got ministers into government, who got the Can Corler of Rona Murphy into the chair, and then gave two fingers to the Irish people to pretend that he's in the opposition. That's the issue. It's not about the amount of time that the opposition have. We'll do our job and we'll do it damn well. But what happened yesterday was absolutely scandalous, an affront to democracy and to the Irish people.
The language towards Verona Murphy, as this controversy was rolling on, was from some in the opposition at the very least somewhat sympathetic. The mood seems to have changed. What did she do wrong yesterday in your view?
Yeah, Greg, and you'll know from a previous conversation that I was trying to give her a fair wind. She was proposed by Michael Lowry. She's part of the Michael Lowry group. And that was a deal was done to put her into the Can Corler chair. But we hoped that she would, once she took the seat, be impartial and fair. What the Can Corler did yesterday was, in my view, contrived with the government to ram this through. So the first thing she did was the order of business. Normally the order of business, that's the schedule for the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You have a discussion about it at about at about 2:30. And on a Tuesday, and then there's a vote. So clearly yesterday there was going to be a vote. There was a row. and she suspended the Dáil, but she deemed that the order of business was agreed. How on earth she came to that conclusion? But worse than that, there's 30 minutes of questions and promise legislation supposed to happen then. She waived that. She moved straight then to deal with the motion from the government. Now, the opposition had united together and put in an amendment to the motion. That should have been taken first, but she said that we didn't move our amendment. How on earth could she reach that conclusion? She then went straight to the vote, and as soon as the vote was done, she closed down the Dáil for the day. I mean, it was outrageous.
So you're of the view that that this was planned. You believe this was planned, and that effectively, once the vote is done, it can't be undone, and the dust will have to settle. And the more the opposition gives out about this now, actually, it probably will end up reflecting more poorly on the opposition, because if I were in government now, I want to talk about immigration, I want to talk about housing, I want to talk about health. And the more you protest now, the worse it's going to look for the opposition. So if it is about the public minds and how you spin something, arguably you could say the government has done a pretty good job on this.
I think it's been a disaster for the government yesterday, Greg. I think the imagery, and he did us all a favour by revealing his true self. The imagery of Michael Lowry giving the two fingers, I think that has disgusted people all across the country. So I think it was a disaster for the government yesterday. But you're right. We have a problem. The government have pulled a stroke with the help of the Can Quarter. They've rammed this through. And we have to do our job as opposition. All the issues you talk about every day in your show, all the things you champion in your show, Greg, we need to get on with that and do that job.
So what is the story now? I mean, is there going to be obviously the camcorder is in situ now, right? And there has to be a level of trust and respect for the Dáil to function effectively over its current term, because that also is how work gets done for the people. Do you have personal confidence in Verona Murphy now, and are you going to be, when I say you, obviously collectively, triggering a vote of no confidence in her?
Well, the Mary Lou McDonald will meet with the other leaders of the opposition shortly, I think at about 9:30, and they're going to discuss all of that.
What's her music going into that, though, Padraig? I mean, obviously, you're very much privy to that. I'm not going to ask you to divulge something you don't feel comfortable in doing so, but is the sense within Sinn Féin that you do not have faith in Verona Murphy after yesterday, given the strong language that you've just used now? Because theoretically, if this could be rammed through on this, you must also suspect that maybe something else could be rammed through down the line.
No, you've asked me a straight question. I'll give you a straight answer. I personally don't have confidence in Verona Murphy after the way she handled yesterday. And the opposition, there's huge anger across the opposition, and we'll see how this morning materialises. But you've asked me the question. Last night, the question was asked on the plinth to the leaders of the opposition. Did they have confidence? None of them put their hand up to say that they did. So that's the scale that we're at. I'm genuinely shocked how she handled that yesterday. And at one stage, the government chief whip, Mary Butler, gave her the thumbs up when they got their business done, and then they shut down the Dáil for the day. So there has to be a response to that, and we'll see what it is.
Quite a remarkable image of Deputy Michael Lowry that will live on for a long, long time, no doubt about that. I know you have to go for 9:30, as did Deputy Gallagher, so we appreciate you squeezing us in this morning. Take care. That is Sinn Féin Deputy and Party Whip Padraig McLaughlin. Before that, unfortunately, just as we were about to talk about the Dáil, his phone line dropped. Fianna Fáil Deputy Pádraig Pat the Cope Gallagher. My apologies for a mistake on the name there. Right, so just in relation to the first question I put to Deputy Pat the Cope Gallagher about the Donegal Education Support Centre, there was it's very disappointing because it's kind of unprecedented where something of this scale or something with so much interest, we've made numerous attempts to get a spokesperson from the Donegal Education Support Centre. At times it felt like, right, they're going to come on the show, and it's not for anyone to be hung, drawn and quartered. It was to ask very simple questions, because that's all it would require, is very simple questions about the logic of the decision, the process of that decision, and how that decision was arrived at. And in any sort of, I think, open situation and a democracy and all that type of stuff, those are not unreasonable questions. I don't believe they are unreasonable questions, but we haven't received the opportunity to interview someone. but we did receive a press release from them, which I'm not going to read all of it, but it says the Donegal Education Support Centre is to move into their new premises in April. A new lease has been signed, and this is a new beginning for teacher professional learning in Donegal. And this strategic move marks a significant milestone in the centre's ongoing commitment to supporting educators across the county. Whilst this location will be the base for professional learning courses, there'll be occasions when the centre will be using external venues for local education needs throughout the county. The mission of the Education Centre is to provide professional learning courses and training opportunities, both national and local, for teachers across the county. A core aspect of this mission is ensuring accessibility for all educationers, for all educators in Donegal. And they say the new centre will serve as a modern, welcoming hub where principals, teachers and SNAs can access high-quality professional learning and resources. The new centre will deliver high-quality training and support, making our services, they say, more accessible to a large number of educators. That's the thrust of what they're saying. That doesn't talk about the decision-making process, who was involved in it, how it was formed, why not wait till after an AGM to make such a big decision, and so on and so forth. But I would just say very clearly, in case I hadn't previously, we've made numerous attempts to speak on this matter to those that have knowledge of the decision, etc., and we've refused. They refused to speak to us. Let me quickly just catch up on a last few items that we cooked through on the papers. I'll come back to that one actually. This was one that I did want to mention, and it is an important one. It's a story that we're keeping a very close eye on and cover when appropriate. Families of 10 victims killed in the explosion in Donegal, this is the Creeslough explosion, want to deliver a presentation to planning bosses in their bid against a controversial rebuild. The explosion, which is under Garda investigation, killed 10 people at a service station in Creeslough on October 7th of 22. It emerged in February. Donegal County Council approved plans for the business to rebuild on the site where the victims lost their lives. Yesterday, legal firm Phoenix Law for families which have objected to the rebuild revealed that they asked An Bó Pleanála for an oral hearing. A spokesperson said their clients object strenuously to the redevelopment of the premises as provided for in the planning application. It claimed that a fair hearing could only be met through an oral hearing, which they claimed must include written submissions and evidence. They added, the bereaved families do not object to the rebuilding of a commercial shopping enterprise in the Creeslough village. They do, however, object to same being redeveloped on the very site where their loved ones lost their lives. An Bó Pleanála said it has yet to make a decision on whether or not to hold an oral hearing. So would you be in favour of that? I think we're talking about openness and transparency. If there is a provision for that in the planning process, and given the sensitive nature, and given the fact that many feel, I would say, who have been bereaved and affected by that, feel maybe their voice hasn't been heard in that process. Obviously, you can make written submissions. Well, if there is provision for that, maybe it's the right way to go forward. I'm pretty certain it is, but there you go. The Sun this morning, the State yesterday was given the green light to raid Enoch Burke's bank account. He's got 40 grand in there, and it is to be taken from him. And the Attorney General will now seek to seize other assets the teacher owns in a bid to cover the almost €80,000 in fines he owes. He has racked up 79,000 in contempt of court penalties for continually breaching orders not to attend Wilson's Hospital School in County Westmeath. Burke was sacked after a row over his refusal to call a trans pupil by the they pronoun, but he's fighting the dismissal. He has continued to turn up at the school since Christmas following his release after 512 days in prison for defying court orders not to do so. Each attendance attracted a daily fine of €700, but it was recently increased to €1,400. As an alternative to sending him back to prison, Dublin's Mountjoy prison, Mr Justice David Nolan last week ordered that steps have been taken to ensure he pays the fine. So his wages are going to be tapped into, his 40 grand's now going to be tapped into, and on it goes. And really in terms of what he can do in the courts to win his battle, very perhaps limited, one might feel. And finally, in the Daily Mirror, if you find the man or the men in your life are grumpy or getting grumpier, It's not our fault because we do get grumpier as we get older. But Boffin says it's all down to genes. It's not the fella's fault. It's the genes the women give us. That's what the problem is. Joke. Blokes become Victor Meldrews. Oh, my God, that's a reference from the past. I'm sure we've met many grumpy men since Victor Meldrew. Because their disgust sensitivity increases as they get older. Previous studies have shown younger women tend to get disgusted more easily than younger men. It's thought we catch up, though, because they must protect themselves and also a sensitive fetus. This is the women if they were to become pregnant. But men catch up as they get older, making them seem more grumpier than when they're younger. So effectively, women more grumpy when they're younger and men more grumpier than they are when they are older. Who would have thought? Okay, keep your calls, comments, texts coming in. We've had quite a few, as you can imagine. We'll be back after these.
Applications are now open for the 2025 National Lottery Good Causes Award. We spoke to Emma Monaghan, Communications Executive from the National Lottery, about the awards which celebrate the inspiring work and achievements of projects, clubs and individuals from all over Ireland.
The Good Causes Awards are open to any individual, club, charity, voluntary organisation or project that has received National Lottery funding in the past 5 years. Nearly 30 cents in every €1 spent on all National Lottery games goes back to good causes. So if you're unsure as to whether you've received National Lottery funding in the past, you can simply log on to lottery.ie/Good Causes Awards. Here you can check your eligibility simply by typing in your organisation's name in the search bar. And if you are eligible, you'll find all details and a link to enter.
Check your eligibility and enter today at lottery.ie/Good Causes Awards. The National Lottery. Support responsibly.
At Restex Beds, we are celebrating 50 incredible years in business. And we are introducing our brand new Glenveigh mattress, comfort that's as legendary as our half-century legacy. Experience 50 years of bedding excellence at Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Restex Beds. Leave the rest to us.
Celebrating 50 years, McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles in Buncrana continues to be Donegal's go-to destination for stunning bathroom makeovers. With a vast selection of premium tiles and bathroom products, our showroom is your ultimate one-stop shop for crafting the perfect space. We've earned our reputation through expert advice, unbeatable prices and a dedication to customer satisfaction. Visit our showroom in Cockhill and Buncrana and see why we've been Donegal's top choice for 50 years and counting. Call us at 07493 63050.
Ready to transform your smile? Discover the magic of Blue Poppy Dental in Letterkenny and Donegal Town. With implantologists, surgical and cosmetic dentists, orthodontists and an endodontist all under one roof, we've got all your dental needs covered. Starting your journey is easy. Call us on 074 91 20355 or book your appointment online anytime through our user-friendly patient portal at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, where smiles shine brighter.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
9:36. A caller says Martin and Larry are to blame. They're making Verona the scapegoat. She has to absorb the bullets and of course she'll fall. Verona would be able for her job if fair play and honesty prevailed. Okay, that is all good, but let's just throw it out there, devil's advocate and all that kind of stuff. As you heard from Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, there is no encroachment as such on the opposition's ability to ask questions and to hold the government to account. I believe that's what I could take from his response. So at the end of the day, right, we're deep into the Dáil. I think they've only sat for like 20 days since the Dáil was formed, something crazy like that, or since the election. Like, do now we as the general population care, or would we be watching, or would we be listening to whomever is asking questions now at this point? As long as, not as long as, and I'm not sweeping it under the carpet, chucking it out there for convo, as long as the government's there, the opposition's there, and the opposition can hold the government account. If Michael Larry or whoever is running with him now get to ask questions as if they were the opposition, we're not thick, are we? We know what's going on. If we have an issue with that, if you support them, you're probably delighted with it. At this point now, would you prefer if the serious issue of health and housing and other matters were being dealt with? Would you like it to go away? Or do you believe the opposition, all of the opposition, they're quite united on this? If they were that united ahead of the election, it would be interesting to see what the outcome of the election might have been. But now, do you support them pursuing this, or do you want things to move on, etc.? Hi, Greg. What's happening in Ramelton today? I see a lot of film crews and cameras outside Steve's Calf. Well, Kieran Hines is here with the camera crew filming a new Irish film, The Man with the Urn. So it's all about film production. And because a lot of that's kept secret in advance, we can't really talk about it in advance, or they don't let us know. I didn't know. I don't know who Kieran Hines is. Would I recognise him if I saw his picture? Would I? I might do that. Okay. Wish I'd have thought of, I was just telling him to sit down, miss excuse in school. Yeah, when you give the two fingers to the teacher, God forbid, never do that, folks, children. But that would be like trying to tell a teacher black is white, and teachers are pretty clever, aren't they? Ask Pat the Cope Galler if he thinks Larry's control is fair to the country. I didn't get to that because the phone line fell on us. Who owns the building at the mountaintop where the education centre is to be moved to? I think it's just another example of wasting more money in the flit. Well, it's a commercial premises and it's owned by local people. They offer things for contract, I'm sure, and someone comes in and takes that contract. That's that. Do you have to be a member of a GEA club to get tickets to a semi-final or final national game? Is that the league? I'm not quite sure. I think the league tickets are quite generally available. But obviously when it comes to the big games, it might be hard to get them. I'm not sure because we're not in the league final. So we'll see. Right, okay, let's move on in the programme now, and we're going to be talking about a penalty points loophole closure with Minister of State for International and Road Transport, Logistics, Rail and Port, Sean Canny. Good morning to you, Sean. Thanks for your time.
Good morning. Good morning to your listeners.
Sean, you know the story, don't you? The hot topic at the moment, as important as this is, and we'll get to it in a moment, is yesterday's scenes in the Dáil. I'd just be interested from a government's perspective on this. We did have Pat the Cope Gallagher earlier on, but the line failed on us, and we have spoken to Pádraig McLaughlin. So I'd be keen just to get your take on what you witnessed and how you read it.
Well, what people witnessed in the Dáil yesterday was a complete, I suppose, undemocratic scenes where people asked questions and then shouted down the Taoiseach when he tried to answer them, shouted down the Cancórla when she tried to bring law and order to the chamber, showed total disrespect for their colleagues. And these are people who were getting salary in excess of 100-something thousand per annum. And if this is all they can offer the people that elected them, I think it's an affront to democracy.
But Sean, some who elected them may have wanted them to sort of, to ensure that this deal wasn't allowed to go through. There is the claim being made that, we'll get to that in a second, sorry, Sean, but the claim that Verona Murphy, regular business of the day that was supposed to be dealt with was rushed through, was passed over. Is it not the opposition's job to say, excuse me, sorry, we have an order of business here, we need to respect that and talk about this properly? And what can you do if it appears like that's all being rushed through?
And exactly, and what I would say to you, to talk about it properly and in a respectful way. The leaders' questions were being asked yesterday, and the minute the Taoiseach stood up to start talking, he was being shouted down. People stood up. When the Cancórla stands up, everybody else is expected to sit down. That's the protocol of the House. Her duties, the respect that should be afforded to the position of the Cancórla was completely disregarded yesterday. And I was sad to see some people, adults, acting in the way, chanting and shouting, and wouldn't allow anybody else to say anything, trying to shout everybody down. I don't think anybody was elected to do that. I think that we have a democracy which we must uphold, and the chamber is where it is upheld.
Mm-hmm. I think... Sorry, go ahead, yeah.
The business of the Dáil needs to be done, and we need to do it in a respectful manner.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday evening, following that fracas in the Dáil, I spent an hour and 15 minutes in the Shannon debating a bill in relation to setting up an investigative unit for maritime accidents at sea. I debated that with senators in the Shannon. We had they listened, I spoke, I listened, they spoke. We got through the business for an hour and 15 minutes, and we'll take it up again.
Mm-hmm.
That's the business. That's the way to do business. If you ask me a question and then you start talking over me, she was pointless in me trying to answer the question, and that's what happened yesterday.
And
so
if I ask you another question,
respect.
if you don't mind,
Yeah.
and with respect, you say no one was elected to behave like that in the Dáil. Do you think anyone was elected to stick their two fingers up as Michael Lowry did? What do you think of his performance in the Dáil yesterday?
I would say that, again, that was inappropriate, if that's what happened. We see a picture, I don't know whether it was taken. And by the way, having your phone out, videoing your colleagues in the Dáil chamber.
It's not allowed, we
understand
that.
But that's been lost as well.
I understand,
because it was intimidation, and I'm not condoning anything that happened there yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I know that things happened yesterday that should never have happened. I'm there since 2016, and I've never seen the likes of the behaviour that happened there yesterday.
But you're saying that, for having looked at the video and the image, you're uncertain if Deputy Michael Lowry was given the two fingers.
I haven't looked at the video. I've seen pictures in the paper which show, and Michael Lowry can speak for himself in regards to that and what happened there, because so many things were happening yesterday. As I was leaving the Dáil, I felt intimidated. They were shouting, "Shame on you, shame on you, shame on you," as I was walking out. I've never done anything to anybody that should bring that they would chant at me like that. These are people I sat beside in opposition. These are people I shared debates with in the last government.
Okay.
And these are people who have said they're representing the people of Ireland.
Understood.
If anybody really just takes a deep breath and looks and says, what are the big issues of today? We have huge problems with the American situation with tariffs, trade tariffs between the European Union and America. We have problems in Ukraine, we have problems in Gaza. People are being killed left, right and centre, innocent people. And here we are shouting over 8 minutes.
I understand that. I understand that, Minister. But people are acutely aware of all of that, and we all live it. Okay, but also with respect,
I know that
the public also does have a view, and quite a strong view. Many members of the public that, you know, if you're in opposition, you're in opposition. If you're in government, you're in government. And you know, our own democracy in our own house is really important as well. And for many people, whether you or I disagree or agree, that is actually quite significant. And what's happened over the course of the last while doesn't rest easy with many members of the public as aghast as you are as what happened yesterday. This situation that's been created where particularly Michael Lowry, and you know Micheál Martin's comments on Michael Lowry in the past, that he's now managed to find himself in a position of influence where Verona Murphy's appointed as part of a deal, and now you have a situation whereby government supporting TDs get the same rights as opposition TDs. And as important as everything you mentioned is, that also is important if people care about that and are concerned about that, to have those views represented in the Dáil too, Minister.
Well, just to speak on that, I am actually the leader of the independent group who are in power in government at the moment. I meet with the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach. That's Sean Kenny. I was on the negotiation team when we negotiated the programme for government. Marion Harkin was on that negotiation team when we negotiated the programme for government. So this is not just one person, but I know conveniently people will make it out to be. Michael Lowry can speak for himself, for his own record and all of that. But what I would say, in all honesty, the first day when we had the election of Taoiseach, the opposition led by Sinn Féin brought the whole house into disarray by shouting, roaring, no respect for anything. The Cancórla did her best to try and bring law and order to it. She suspended the Dáil. A committee was set up, a reform committee was set up, which is set up after every election. They tried to reach a conciliation or an agreement on what should be done. That didn't happen. So at some stage, we're trying to get committees in place. So the legislation that I'm putting through, and I have another piece of legislation coming up, which is in relation to road safety as well. I need to get that moving.
Well, shall we move on to that?
Go ahead.
If we
don't have the committees in place to actually challenge the legislation, do the scrutiny on the legislation, we have a Dáil that is not functioning properly.
Okay.
So I think, we spent a lot of time talking about this. January, I think the Taoiseach was elected. We're now into the end of March. We need to be getting on with the business for what we were elected to do, and we need to do it in a respectful manner of every person who has got a mandate from the people in their constituency. And I think that is the overriding issue here.
Okay.
We always have disagreements, and like I would have a disagreement with anybody, but I won't try and shout them down, or I won't try and shout above them so that their response cannot be heard.
Understood, Minister. And
what,
I feel like I'm
what
having
happened yesterday was
and you've made that point, okay. And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm having to do that to move it on, because it's a very important issue as well. It's a loophole that has been closed, and there's many more loopholes to come, and I hope you do get the committees formed and get to work on that. This is effectively allowed people to who've accumulated, in other words, have a history of inappropriate driving or non-compliance with the rules of the road, being able to avoid a ban. That's going to end now.
That is, and it will come into effect. That commencement order was signed by Minister Darragh O'Brien and will commence on the 31st of March. And basically, just to say, on this very important subject, so far, as of this morning at 7 a.m, 35 people have died since the 1st of January on our roads. That's 16 less than last year, but it's 35 people too many. The families, the friends, the communities that are affected in such a way by these accidents and by the loss of life, we need to try and eliminate that. So as the Minister responsible for road safety, this is the first step. We've had a reduction in speed limits on local roads. I'm bringing forward another bill, the National Vehicle and Driver File Bill, which will actually strengthen the legislative basis for access to vehicles and driver data. And that's where we will have the driving licence linked to an insurance and all of that, so that it'll make it easier for the Gardaí to actually monitor what's going on. We need to make sure that we try to eliminate, reach zero fatalities on our roads. Mm-hmm. And every life that's lost is a life too many.
And everyone would agree with you on that. And just what this is a by the by too, it would be very interesting as we head into the holiday season, Minister, if the car manufacturers updated their software to recognise these lined signs, because obviously a lot of modern cars now and a lot of visitors will be relying on, I know it seems minor in the wider scale of things, on sign recognition software, but the cars don't seem to be able to pick up these signs that have been put up on rural roads that so much money has been spent on educating people about.
Absolutely. And what we need to do is we need to involve car manufacturers. We need to have better education around our driving. We need to have more what I would call with TY students to teach them, educate them more in terms of what driving entails, the responsibility you take on. And it's not just a matter of trying to get the test and get your driver's license. It's a matter of being competent, being responsible on the road. And we have probably done a good bit on this, but we need a lot more to be done. And I do believe that as we improve our roads infrastructure, as the roads get better, people are inclined to drive at speed. And I think speed is one of the biggest problems we have in terms of fatalities, as well as people driving with under the influence of alcohol and or drugs and all of this kind of thing. And society has been moving, and we need to move our legislation to make sure that we make sure that our roads are safe for everybody use them.
Understood,
And I
Minister.
think that's the important thing.
Thank you for your time and covering all of that. Sorry for having to
No
move along.
problem.
I do appreciate it. Take care. That's Minister of State for International and Road Transport, Logistics, Rail and Ports and Safety. That was Minister of State Sean Canny. Okay, thanks for all of that. We'll be back with the weather.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Running a business isn't easy, but accessing support should be. The new National Enterprise Hub is the single source for all government support for your business. With over 180 supports in one place, it's easier than ever to find grants, advice, training and more. And don't worry about not knowing what you need. Our helpful team will guide you every step of the way. Visit neh.gov.ie to learn how we can help. The National Enterprise Hub. Support starts here, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Get the right tools or equipment to get any job sorted with the great weekend deal at Watson Hire in Letterkenny. Hire any tools or equipment on a Friday for 1 day and they're yours to use until Monday. 3 days hire for the price of one at Watson Hire every weekend. Get the job done and dusted with this great weekend hire deal at Watson Hire Lisnain in Letterkenny. Call 916-7777 or see watsonhire.ie.
Crawford Tiles Castlefin. Spring Madness. New tiles in stock. 45 by 45, €12.99. 60 by 60, €14.99. 75 by 75, €19.99. And 1200 by 600, €24.99. All in stock and ready to go. Visit crawfordtiles.com or call 91-43942.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €4 million. Play responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Imagine what you could do with €20,000 to refresh your living space. Highland Radio and Foy's are giving you the chance to transform your home with a €10,000 home makeover draw, plus €10,000 in cash. Get your tickets now at highlandradio.com for a chance to make your dream home a reality.
At Fleming's, we take great pride in having provided quality steel and roofing to all our customers throughout Ireland since 1860.
Tell them about the doors, John.
OK, Mike. We also provide a full quality range of
Doors, industrial doors, garage doors, roller doors, insulated doors.
Thanks for that, Mike.
No dramas, mate.
Fleming's, engineering solutions for 150 years. Call us now on 074 91 48 234.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybuffet offer a wide range of courses from training bodies such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LADRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet on 074 9132033.
Are you looking for a powerful, high-performance laptop? Think green and save big with Ben Sweeney Euronics. Discover refurbished Lenovo ThinkPads that look and feel like new with Windows 11 pre-installed and a rock-solid 3-year warranty for total peace of mind. Why pay full price when you can save up to 70% and do your part for the planet by choosing sustainable tech? Find yours today at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Keeling's blueberries are available now. Let the fun begin. Pick up a punnet of Keeling's blueberries in store today. Tasty, juicy, feel-good fruit. Love that Keeling's feeling.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Okay, largely dry day with plenty of cloud and just limited sunny spells. Patchy drizzle and mist will develop in places in the afternoon and light rain will move in from the west in the evening. Temperatures 12 to 14 degrees and kind of interesting as we look on. in the Dáil today, reconvened at 9:10, and there isn't a sinner in it. There's 3 people in the Dáil today for all the chat and conversation. I know there's other things to be doing, and it's not all about that, but it's just kind of interesting. Okay, we do have to go straight into another outbreak. My apologies. It's just the lots of people had lots to say in the first hour, and we've got lots more on the way too in the second and third, so stay right where you are. We'll be back with much more here on the 9 till noon show after we take a break for the news and the obituary notices. Stay where you are.
Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana, the biggest direct importer of sofas, beds, mattresses and flooring in the Northwest. Best in stock deals on selected sofas and corner sofas. Best in stock deals on gas lift beds. Best in stock on mattresses. Best in stock deals on laminate flooring, semi-solid flooring and carpets. Full fitting service on carpets and wood flooring. With a free delivery service throughout the Northwest, including all of Northern Ireland. Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana. Always lower prices.
Atlantic Travel, Letterkenny, award-winning travel experts. Sail the Sicilian coastline, dive the Maldives, tour Riacan and Tuscan vineyards, stroll the shores of Lake Garda or the streets of Santorini. Indulge the senses, savor new flavors, embrace warm welcomes, smiling faces and balmy sunsets. Escape with atlantictravel.ie. Book today.
Backstage Bar and Grill is the ideal destination to treat all your mums this Mother's Day. We have set menus to choose from with something to suit everyone. To make a table booking or for more information, call 07491 21976 or email us at bookings@centurycinemas.ie.
What do you say to boring lunches? Focaccia! With Centra's new focaccia sandwich range, you get the toastiest, tastiest focaccia bread. Then choose from high-protein chicken with Frank's Red Hot sauce, delicious caprese melt, and more. And they're only €6.50. Focaccia! Centra, live every day.
I'm Fionnuala Fibre O'Farrell Flynn, racing across the country to keep up with NBI's fibre rollout. Over 50 broadband providers are using NBI's network to bring high-speed fibre broadband to homes across Ireland. So from Ballyliffin to Ballybuffet, homeowners can pick whatever package suits their needs and still get all the benefits of rural Ireland's dedicated fibre broadband network. Connect at nbi.ie.
NBI is delivering the government's national broadband plan.
Another connection. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have worn heels.
Calling all food producers and artisan creators. The Donegal Festival of Food is taking place on the weekend of May the 24th and 25th at Oakville Park, Rafo, with big names including Marco Pierre White, Rachel Allen and Paula McIntyre. Whether you bake, brew, grill or grow, it's an opportunity to showcase your passion to thousands of food lovers. Secure your spot, meet new customers and be part of Donegal's tastiest event of the year. Spaces are limited, so book yours today. See oakvillepark.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, just gone 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Opposition leaders are meeting at the moment to consider a motion of no confidence in the Ceann Comhairle. More disruption is expected in the Dáil later today, with both sides at an impasse over speaking rights. It adjourned yesterday amid chaotic scenes, which included Independent Michael Lowry being caught on a camera making a gesture with his 2 fingers. The Transport Minister, Darragh O'Brien, however, says that's exaggerated.
I think that's all been overplayed. I've just seen the picture. Paul Murphy, by the way, who was the one who was recording in the chamber, which isn't allowed, by the way, again, incredible disrespect to the chamber. I think that's being overplayed. I think Deputy Lowry himself will answer for that. Look, I've seen the picture. I wouldn't do it myself, okay? I think Deputy Lowry will answer for that himself.
Well, on today's 9 till noon show, Sinn Féin party whip in Donegal, Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, said it's clear that the Ceann Comhairle was acting on the government's behalf and helped push that vote through yesterday, and that's why he has no confidence in her. On the 2-finger gesture, Deputy McLaughlin said it's an image that will come to typify what he described as the grubby deal struck between Deputy Lowry and Taoiseach Micheál Martin, a man who once backed a motion that Mr Lowry was unfit for public office.
He has done a grubby deal with Michael Lowry, who got ministers into government, who got the Ceann Comhairle of Rona Murphy into the chair, and then gave 2 fingers to the Irish people to pretend that he's in the opposition. That's the issue. It's not about the amount of time that the opposition have. We'll do our job and we'll do it damn well. But what happened yesterday was absolutely scandalous, an affront to democracy and to the Irish people. I personally don't have confidence in Verona Murphy after the way she handled yesterday.
There are calls on the Education Minister to issue a ministerial order halting the relocation of the Donegal Education Centre from Donegal Town to Letterkenny. The centre is set to close in Donegal Town at the end of this month, despite a lengthy campaign to retain it. Deputy Pat the Cope Gallagher is calling on Minister Helen McEntee to issue a stay of execution and for the Public Accounts Committee to conduct a review of the process. It comes after a public meeting last week heard that Minister McEntee has effectively wiped her hands of the decision, saying it's a matter for the centre's Board of Management. Deputy Gallagher says the decision to relocate doesn't make sense.
It's there, it should be left there. There's no good reason for moving it. If it were all in-house, you might say, well, we'll move it to Ballybuffet, it's more central. But when it was in-house and when there was no social media, when there was no email, it was in Donegal Town. And over those 27 years, nobody ever complained. They travelled from all parts, north, south, east and west. Just the simplistic answer is, why fix it when it's not broken? And if it is to be moved, then move it to some outlying area.
It's emerged occupational therapy waiting lists in Donegal are more than double what was previously stated. Councillor Declan Meehan has received clarification that instead of the 476 on the waiting list he was told last month, the actual number waiting on occupational therapy appointments is 1,037. The HSE says an administrative error led to the incorrect information being provided to Councillor Meehan. He says recruitment remains a huge issue in ongoing delays for increasing the number of occupational therapists in Donegal.
There are 11 vacancies in Donegal, and at the last meeting I was informed that they're expecting a further 2 vacancies in OT by April, which is only around the corner. So those 13 vacancies need to be advertised. Now in February I was told that those vacancies were being advertised on a rolling recruitment basis locally. And when I highlighted the fact that they weren't, they said that they would look into it. It's now 1 full month on, March 25th, and those vacancies are still not advertised.
There are calls for works to be carried out to improve access to Mulladerg Beach in West Donegal. It's after a recent collision in which a caravan overturned with a child narrowly escaping injury. Councillor Micheál Columgala Uspuk says it's vital measures are implemented to ensure the safety of all beachgoers.
We need to make sure that the vision lines is a lot clearer. The idea that people who walk on it on a regular basis that could get knocked down, get hurt or worse. We've seen the circumstances where the last accident on it was that we had to get the fire brigade and the ambulance out and fortunately there was a bad accident, and here we're raising it with the council to make them visual lines a lot safer.
A man is due in court today after being charged with a number of driving offences in Derry. The 30-year-old was stopped by police in the John Street area of the city yesterday afternoon. He's been charged with failing to have a driving licence, obstructing police, taking a motor vehicle without authority and using a motor vehicle without insurance. He's expected to appear at a sitting of Derry Magistrates Court. Weather forecast: any mist and fog will clear, leaving a largely dry day with plenty of cloud, just some limited sunny spells. Top temperatures this afternoon 12 or 13 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Check all the latest news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notice says for this Wednesday morning, March the 26th. The death has taken place of Deirdre Harkin, 76 Townsend Street, Strabane, reposing at her home. Fiona leaving her home tomorrow morning at 11:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in Strabane Cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to Chest, Heart and Stroke, Kev Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Brian Grieve, formerly of Clonee, Dublin and Letterkenny, reposing at his daughter Caroline's residence in Carbery, County Kildare, today from 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Removal tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock to arrive at St Bridget's Church, Straffin for 12 noon funeral mass, followed by burial in Lara Bryan Cemetery, Maynooth. The funeral mass can be viewed live on celstra.ie. House strictly private before the funeral tomorrow morning, please. The death has occurred of John Paul McGill, Mahara Ardra, reposing at the family home today from 2 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Funeral Mass tomorrow at 12 noon in the Church of the Holy Family Ardra, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. house private please on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please, donations if desired to Killybegs Community Hospital, care of McCabe Funeral Directors or any family member. And the death has taken place of Anne Bratton, née Maguire, 41 Camburn Park, Kilfennan, Derry. Funeral service at her home this afternoon at 1:30, followed by interment in Ballyowen Cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu of flowers if wished to Foyle Down Syndrome Trust. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Hey, looking for car insurance that's simple, fast and comes with a little extra? That's RedClick. Until the end of March, when you quote and buy online, we'll give you a €40 retail voucher to treat yourself to something special. For insurance that's easy, insurance that's quick. Visit redclick.ie. €40 voucher offer is valid for new private car policies purchased from 1st January to 31st March. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Generali Seguros y Reyes Seguros SAU. Trading as RedClick and Generali is authorised by the General Directorate of Insurance and Pension Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. It is Wednesday, the 26th of March, and it's a wonderful day so far weather-wise across the northwest. I hope it's like that where you are listening to us today. Right, as you can imagine, lots of you, I've dropped some of your comments here, lots of you messaging in. 2 fingers up to the Irish electorate by a convicted person supporting a government trying to change the reality of who is opposition and who is not. This misleading double speak is what this government is all about, and it needs to be stopped now or it'll continue to be their policy, says a listener. Another, Greg, not one of them politicians in government will say anything about Lowry, and the opposition is to blame for everything. I personally am with the opposition on this. If this is allowed to stand, we're finished as a country. And of course, there are people that believe that the opposition are wrong and it's the government that are correct. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, while separate in government, were never properly held to account, and now when in government together, they want the opposition to roll over. Won't happen, in my opinion, says another. Morning, Greg. That minister said he won't ever shout anyone down, yet he's speaking over you and not letting you speak. You want to know what is wrong with politics in Ireland? Self-serving, greedy, arrogant clowns, says a listener. That guy being interviewed seems very biased. He can talk about the opposition, but not about Lowry. Don't believe he didn't see the video. This mess was created by government, and now they don't like being challenged. And you could say, conversely, Pádraig McLaughlin was on a little earlier on, and he would be biased, obviously, to the opposition's point of view on that. And that's just the way it works. And we get our balance in the round here as best we can. Who is this TD deflecting? Is what he's causing you to do is what he's causing you do a deal that's not right? What do you expect to get people's backs up? I think he should sit back and reflect on what was going on. To say the TDs are not happy, they have a fight to stand up for this corruption, says a listener. Yes, we do care about our country, Greg. The Dáil is not fit for purpose. So a camera crew in Ramelton is far more important than the state of our country is currently in. I don't understand what you're on about. My question was, you have to stand. I'm only here to chair it. My question was, are people still vexed by this? Do they still want to talk about it? Do they want to move on? That's a question. Hopefully we're not at a stage now where you can't ask questions anymore. As it relates to a camera crew in Ramelton, I have no idea how that fits into the wider conversation. Another listener, and this is what we do in this show every day, there are all different types of topics discussed. They want to know what was going on in their own area or what they saw. That's what we're here for as well. Another caller says, I support the collapse of the current government and back to the polls now that they've been outed as liars. And don't start your mandate crack, Greg. 60% didn't vote for them. That definitely says they don't have a majority mandate. And again, I only have to... And it's, that's 60% of people that voted. There's far many people that didn't vote. So if you wanted to look at it like that, there would be a slim mandate if you looked at it through those glasses. A caller says, I elect people to represent me and stand by their principles. If that means roaring and shouting, then so be it. I don't elect people to head on down to the Dáil, says a listener, supporting the opposition's behaviour in holding people to account. Asking why he was party to a bill on which amendments had been proposed was rushed through without the amendments being even discussed. And the real issue is the findings of the Moriarty Tribunal, which found that Michael Lowry received funds from Dennis O'Brien. Is this Speaker suggesting TDs have to shut up and do what Michael Lowry wants? Democracy? What democracy? Well, you see, you do get a bit of that, and we saw that when some issues were raised to Simon Harris. And maybe it's a strategy. He effectively was going, well, you shouldn't be raising those issues here. It was in relation to those payments to Ukrainians. I don't want to keep feeling like I'm referring that, but that was an exchange that reminded me very much of, sort of saying, how dare you raise those issues? Actually, just by coincidence, and we don't stack these comments. I read them as they're handed to me, and by coincidence, because I was just saying that by the by. A caller says, what about when the Taoiseach told the deputy who raised the issue of the Ukrainian getting cars fixed to sit down? Yeah, okay, that, as I say, pure coincidence. Right, okay. There's been other stuff coming in too. I want to move to that. Why do you not discuss the more important issues of the day? For example, how Enoch Burke is constantly being falsely arrested at his home for gender ideology, simply because he won't call a woman a man or a boy a girl, or vice versa, in the school he was employed and teaching in. Enoch Burke's human rights, Christian beliefs, and also his constitutional rights are being taken away from him. Therefore, it's okay for multiple members of Gardaí on several occasions that went into Enoch Burke's parents' property, constantly harassing, intimidating, and interrogating his family, parents, and siblings. And the only way we can raise issues like that as well, I mentioned them in the papers and invite people to comment, is people like you text in or even come on and discuss it on the radio show. Burke should have had his wages frozen once he refused to comply with the court. He's been stealing from the state for years now. That's their phrase on it. He hasn't been stealing from the state for years. Of course, he was perfectly entitled to his wages and continues to be entitled to his wages. What has actually happened now is legally a freeze has been put on his wages. He's entitled to the same latitude as everybody is. If you are employed by the state, and there's a disciplinary measures taken against you and you appeal those, he's perfectly entitled to be paid whilst that appeal is ongoing. But the caller goes on to say the fact he's allowed to continue standing outside the school is a joke. Any other man hanging around a school like that would be moved along pretty sharpish. Greg, you must be the only person in the country who hasn't watched Game of Thrones or Kin if you don't know Kieran Hines. I have not watched either of those, and I do watch a lot of telly. And it's not actually a reflection on Mr. Hines himself. I'm a faces person, to be honest with you, and that's why I said to Caroline, if I saw him, would I recognise him? I'm just not fantastic at linking names to faces in that realm. News I'm better at. Has Lowry something on Micheál Martin that he facilitates him so much? Micheál Martin didn't even do this for his own party members, as he threw a number of his own under the bus. Another, the opposition has to hold firm on Dáil speaking rights, the issue that is. This was a stroke by Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. Another, the two main government parties are again able to lead the public around by the nose, making them focus on a single politician, giving the fingers instead of focusing on current political issues. And now they have a new fall guy. Instead of Eamon Ryan getting the blame for everything, this time they can blame Michael Lowry. And the two main government parties won't be held accountable for anything. People are seriously dumbed down and distracted. Michael Lowry is a different type of a politician to Eamon Ryan. Firstly, he's pretty shielded, supporting government but not in government, able to question government. Michael Lowry's got himself into a very, very favourable position. Eamon Ryan was the face of some of the more controversial decisions the government had to make, or indeed maybe he made them. Michael Lowry, not quite so. Morning. Those scenes in the Dáil yesterday were absolutely disgusting. If they really know shame, they talk about Trump and his bully boy tactics. They are the same. Do your jobs and get this country back from the dark ages where services are on their knees. I'm sick to my stomach at them. What a nasty little man Michael Lowry is, but we all know this, and so his actions are no surprise. The main concern was the madness demonstrated by the bulk of TDs and breakdown in Dáil democracy. But then again, that should be no surprise either. Did you know in the 50s that Ireland had the highest number of patients in mental institutions per head of population in the world? I don't know if that... I didn't know that. I'm not sure if that's a poor reflection on how we dealt with people with mental health issues. Greg, no matter who's right or wrong, there has to be respect for the position of the chair. Disgraceful, carry on. Yeah, a lot of people might feel that as well. Sinn Féin could not stomach the result of the election and got tougher with the other parties to cause hassle. And there's only one word for yesterday and the other days is bullying. An average of $2,000 a week in wages just to roar and shout at the chair, says a listener there. Greg, the courts are better at taking Enoch Burke's money than taking the money from people that built the bike shed or RTE that committed fraud. Looks like the government can just change the rules. And this is why this catchphrase, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, by the way, that's up to you, the listeners, to direct me, but this is why this phrase in Britain caught on so much, and it's starting to be used here. This is the two-tier policing, they say, right? So, you can have all manner of disgusting stuff on a laptop and go to court and walk out and you're fine, seemingly. Or you can take a stand on a moral issue, as some would see in the case of Mr. Burke, and end up in prison for 500 plus days. And that's why the two-tier policing, two-tier judiciary catchphrase is caught on so much, because there are obvious sort of scenarios that you can give that would present that as seeming to be the case. There are too many young people losing their lives on our roads. I think that you shouldn't be allowed to drive a powerful car on the roads until you're 25. Young people should only be allowed to drive 14 horsepower cars. I'm not sure there are 14 horsepower cars, but I take the wider point. I would be an advocate of that myself. I wouldn't have been when I was 17, 18, 19, 20 and up to maybe 30. But obviously when something doesn't affect me, you kind of think, well, it might be the best way to do things. Hi, Greg. Not going on air, but that's fine. Last Saturday night, Ballyliffin was full with armed forces stopping everyone. What was going on? Someone asked the Gardaí, who stopped them 3 times, and they laughed at them. It's good to see checkpoints, but many on Saturday and Sunday was wild, all in the one area. There could be a security thing ongoing. I mean, there's high-level operations take place all the time across the county. If you would have, there was, say, a drugs raid there in Letterkenny at the weekend. If you'd have been watching that as a neighbour, you'd have been going, what's going on here? What's all this about? And then, obviously, the details would have been revealed a couple of days later, and it would have been more obvious. I don't know what was going on in Ballyliffin, or I think the caller says there was an armed response there. I'm not quite sure. The issue here regarding Ukrainians in this country with fancy expensive cars is the fact that these people are rich and should not be getting these outrageous benefits that none of us Irish citizens can get, no matter how poor we are. I get you, but it might well be the case that they're paying their own rent. We don't know that, you see. The presumption is that they're all on benefits, and not everyone's drawing them or entitled to them necessarily, certain types of benefits. But I take your point. Now, do you have to be a member of a GA club? We got an answer to that, and I've lost it now because we're so busy on that. I'll get back to that in a second. Right, let us take a break. We'll be back with much more in the 9 till noon show.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 26th of March. You're playing for the Daily prize of €1,400 on the blue sheet. The reference number is S3. It's game number 13. The numbers are 3, 2, 60, 18, 72, 34, 25, 47, 62, and finally 48. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Summer is just around the corner, and it's now time to shop for your dream garden furniture at Easy Living Furniture. We've got a huge range of garden furniture and accessories at unbeatable prices, and if that's not enough, we'll throw in free delivery on all garden furniture. Transform your garden or patio for the ultimate al fresco dining experience. Don't miss out. Come in today to grab these incredible deals before they're gone. Only at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link, Derry, Londonderry.
Want a new car? Think Kia. Call Heron Auto Donegal Town on 074 9722 555. We're excited to offer a fantastic selection of self-charge and plug-in hybrid cars, along with petrol and electric cars. With finance rates starting from an incredible 0% APR and a 7-year warranty, you can drive away today with peace of mind. Call Heron Auto to find your perfect vehicle and experience our commitment to excellence. Drive with confidence. Drive with Heron Auto Donegal Town.
Seolthaigh rialtas beartas náisiúnta nua im líanach an féinmharú a laidú. Big ról lárnach ag do thuirimí maidir leis an mertas nua seo a bhúnlú. Mar chuide a chóireach an peibli, tá an rion sláinte ag tuairt cuiread an phobal do grúpaí agus dagreachtaí ábhartha a dúirimí maidir le laidú féinmhartha in éireann a roinnt. Go háirithe iad siúdú bhfuil taithí sílacha ar éonmharú. Tá gach síl a chailtar le féinmharú thar an gceart. Is féidir at cabhrút si do thuirimí a roinnt ag gov.ie/suicide reduction. Teachtareacht ó rialtas na hÉireann.
All right. Well, our phone lines, our text machines have literally, well, not literally, actually, what a ridiculous thing to say, have been melting this morning off the back of what went on in Dail yesterday. It kind of came to a head. There's more to come on that. Brendan Byrne, former councillor, mayor and freelance political pundits with us now. Good morning to you, Brendan. We're going to be talking about, I suppose, matters local, but I can't have you on and not ask for your reflections on yesterday.
Well, I think we're in the realm of political semantics on the part of the government and opposition equally. There's a political power struggle going on since the Dáil was reconstituted, whereby there's an opportunity for the opposition on the issue of voting times and that to get a swipe at the government. On the government side, then there's a failure on their part to put their agenda forward in terms of setting up committees and getting the working of the Dáil up and running. I don't know where it's going to end, but it certainly doesn't reflect well on the country. I think the leaders of all parties, including the government parties, need to go around the one table and resolve this. Voting in new rules or regulations governing procedure in the Dáil is not going to solve it. You're going to have the support of all parties in the House in order to let business be done. But this is dragging on. This is the 118th day of this government and it doesn't look good.
It really angers people, this matter. Not everyone, but I remember comments from the likes of Peadar Tóibín and others when this was first starting, and they were like, there are bigger issues out there. People want to see the work move on. And I think this has dragged its feet and become such a political hot potato because actually regular people are very bothered by this. They're quite invested in the workings of the Dáil, and in a way, I think that's I think that's probably a good thing because it shows some interest and what have you in politics. But as I say, I think early on, and if maybe to some extent still now, some politicians are underestimating how peeved off the public are that the roles within the Dáil are sort of, and the norms are being blurred a little now. And Michael Lowry too is a very divisive character and people have long memories.
Yeah, I think all sides are angry, but then at the same time, no one's pulling back. Everyone's digging a trench deeper for themselves. And that's where the frustration of the general public is. We elect a government, we elect an opposition by extension of whoever is in government, the rest are in opposition. But I think it's self-evident that Michael Lowry is going to be a lightning rod for this long as he supports this government. And it would be wise of the government to jettison him at this stage.
Well, that's a very interesting comment. Are you surprised they've stuck to their guns so firmly that this would be potentially a hill to die on, to insist on this arrangement, even whether it's a fact or the optics, that it seems to be Michael Lowry that's the puppet master on this? So you believe that Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael need to jettison Michael Lowry? Is it not too little too late now? Is the damage not done?
It's never too late. I think the reality is, and you're correct, they were on the hill fighting for him up into and including yesterday. But the bigger picture is that we need a solid government. We need a solid opposition by equal measure. And if the price of that is Michael Lowry, then that man has to go overboard.
All right, let's turn our attentions closer to home now, because Manus Boyle is now a senator and he needs to be replaced on the council. He'll be replaced, of course, by Fine Gael, as he's a Fine Gael former councillor, now senator. And there are two good names actually in the running. former Fine Gael councillor Barry Sweeney, and Michael Boyle, who's the brother of Manus. How do you think that's going to play out?
Well, of course, it's a matter for the fully paid up members of Fine Gael. I would imagine there's more than 200 of them that have that decision in their hands. The meeting is to take place this Friday the 28th. Look at the maturity of all those that have paid up their members will come into play here. You have, in the case of Manus Boyle, it was a seat that was newly won for that area. A massive campaign was mounted by Manus. There's a strong personal vote in that was garnered by Manus Boyle. There's a sectoral vote there. The fishing community, the health services in that area backed Manus very heavily over any other candidate. And then there's geographical factors. And then in order to give balance to the argument, in terms of Barry Sweeney, both of them I know, both Boyle and Barry Sweeney, but in the case of Barry Sweeney, he was a sitting councillor. He's from an opposing geographical area, the south of the county, but nevertheless was also the highest remaining candidate that was on the ballot there last May. I think the factors that will come into play are, it's only 10 months since the election, and the uniqueness that the elected Manus Boyle in the terms of his geographical and personal vote and the sectoral vote that he garnered, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for the membership of Fine Gael to go beyond Manus's brother. I think the fortune would favour Michael Boyle in this, and I think that in the maturity of the membership of Fine Gael, and far be it for me to speak for them, I think they will support Manus's brother, because it'll be very, it'll cause turbulence if you do anything else.
Do you think it might be considered how this might look from a public perspective? Have we moved on past dynasties, nepotism? I'm not saying those two things are present here, but of course we've got both of their fathers in John Boyle, a very, very nice man, in fact, as all three of them are. Then Manus Boyle gets elected, very quickly moving on to the Shannons, and then his brother is parachuted into that seat. You know, I mean, some would say, you know, it doesn't, for some members of the public, they might want, let's blood someone new, let's bring a woman in, for crying out loud.
Well, there's only two that are seeking the nomination.
Of course, yes. At this stage of the process.
The reality is, I suppose, if we look at this objectively, Manus Boyle was elected by 1,751 of the electorate of Donegal. There's now a casual vacancy because he was appointed to the Senate. 200 or 200 plus people of the Fine Gael party will choose his successor. They do that for different reasons. I don't think nepotism is any.
No, I'm not. I wasn't even implying that. I'm on about what the perception might be, Brendan. Sorry, yeah, I'm not suggesting that.
No, I understand, and it's something that's always thrown at politicians and dynasties and nepotism. But I think there are going to be very significant factors that will determine this: geographical and the personal vote. And the real factor, I think, is it's just 10 months since the people in the ballot box decided that seat would stay in the Brucklas area, Killybegs area, Dunganelly area, and for a party to go against the electorate that chose that within a short time frame after the election is going to be difficult. It's not impossible, but it's going to be difficult. So that's my understanding.
But Barry Sweeney too, from my knowledge of him, very accomplished councillor, very busy, great speaker, big level of votes as well at the same time, and you could point to why it happened. It might not have been down to him, but the way who stood and where they stood, he was deselected effectively by the people. But I presume he remains very popular, and also is in sort of a nice little spot in the county, arguably, to represent people in that area.
Well, Barry Sweeney is an absolute gentleman. He's a very capable politician coming from Ballyshannon. I suppose the one weakness in the Barry Sweeney argument, had Barry Sweeney's votes elected Manus Boyle, then he would have a massive claim to the seat. But as we know, Barry Sweeney wasn't eliminated and he was the last man standing. So, but having said that, in his own merit, on capability, on geographical location, Barry Sweeney has an argument for the seat, but the overall argument will be determined as what is best for the Fine Gael party, and only them can decide that. And certainly I don't think they'll take advice from me or you, maybe.
No, well, certainly not me. I think you might have a better punt at offering advice. But as I say, it'll all come down on Friday, March 28th to the views of 200 odd Fine Gael party members, paid up members, and you're of the view, with all the reasons that you've outlined, that it's likely Michael Boyle would get the nod, but nothing is done until it's done either, Brendan.
Look, you can never predict the electorate, and by God, you cannot predict the electorate if it's hardened, seasoned, paid-up party members. But I think reason will prevail for the reasons we outlined. But we could be proven wrong.
In those, there'd be lobbying going on, would there, with this type of stuff, I wonder?
I've seen numerous co-options in my time, and of course they're intensely canvassed. And as I say, there's a very hard and seasoned electorate. Those are the people that have held the party together, whatever party it is. Those are the people that have canvassed for the party. And they're just not like an ordinary voter here. They're seasoned animals.
Yes, indeed. All right, Brendan, thanks for your time. Take care of yourself. That's former Mayor Councillor and freelance political pundit Brendan Byrne. He is of the view that seat will be taken, and it is the will of the 200 odd paid up members of Fine Gael. He is the view that Manas's brother Michael will get that position. And as I say, those are the names that have been put forward. When I talk of dynasties or nepotism, it's after the fact and how it might be perceived or text that we might get. I'm not implying or suggesting that is the case for a moment. A caller says, we as Irish Catholics living in a Christian country should back Enoch Burke 100%, although he's not a Catholic himself, is he? Not that matters. It's not fair that he's lost his job as a teacher due to not using the correct pronouns. We need to stand up to the nonsense. There are only two genders, says that listener. Right, okay, let us take a break. Our next guest after these.
It's the holiday of a lifetime, Highland in the Sun 2025. This September 14th to the 21st, we go back to the stunning 4-star Sol Costa Gerada Hotel Saloon for 7 nights dinner, bed and breakfast and lots of great entertainment with some of your favourite acts in Irish country music. Don't delay and book today by contacting Country Music Tours on 074 9119 955 or email info@countrymusictours.ie. Don't miss out on the holiday of a lifetime.
The infection felt terrible. I just wasn't getting better. I was breathing fast and I felt confused. I had shivers and pain through my body. I was drinking water, but I wasn't peeing. I felt like I was going to die. In the hospital, they said I had sepsis. And it's urgent.
Sepsis can hide behind any infection at any age, so watch out for the signs. Visit hse.ie/sepsis for more information. And don't be afraid to ask the question, could it be sepsis? From the HSE.
If you're looking for a competitive insurance quote, contact Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers in Letterkenny. Home, car or van insurance, farm, commercial or public liability insurance. They compare quotes from all the leading insurers so you get a great price. Call Hickey Clark and Langan on 91 26688 or call into the office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Brian McCormick Sports, supporting Donegal GAA. New range in store for the new rules on pitch. Layer up with a new Donegal Dynamo range. Gilets and jackets with matching hats. New Donegal goalkeeper jersey. Looks good enough to be worn in any position. Show your colours. Click on BMC Sports.
Tina Turner. That is mad.
Looking for the perfect Mother's Day gift? Want to show someone that you think they're simply the best? Or do you have a proud Mary you want to spoil? West End mega hit Tina, the Tina Turner musical, is coming to Boardgash Energy Theatre, Dublin as part of its first ever Ireland tour. Join Highland Radio on Friday the 6th of June for an unforgettable trip. Set to a soundtrack of Tina's greatest hits, this inspirational and exhilarating story celebrates the life of the Queen of Rock and Roll. Trip includes luxury coach travel, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel on a bed and breakfast basis, and ticket to the show. Contact us today on 9125,000 or check out the outlet on highlandradio.com to book your place now.
All right, next guest in studio with us, Yosef Ghaffar, who was, well, we'll hear more about Yosef in a second. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for calling in to us. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Rachel Mooney is a physio at No Barriers Fitness as well. Hi, Rachel. Hi. How are you keeping?
Good, yeah.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Right, Yosef, your story in this context goes back to 2022, and you were involved in a road traffic collision. Is that correct? As much as you're comfortable, that is not necessarily what the interview's about, of course, but as much as you're comfortable, talk to us about that and the consequences of it.
Yeah, it was
back in 2022. I was here for college, and I went out with the guy I knew, and roughly, I don't know, give or take, 8:30ish. We were on back roads, and not exactly sure what happened, but that's when the accident happened there.
And next thing you remember, you're in hospital, or is the whole episode a blur for you?
It's more 50-50. There's some parts I remember, and the rest I don't. I mean, I mainly just remember waking up and not being able to move. That's like the main thing I just remember. And the next part was just waking up at the hospital, and then, there's all the nurses and doctors surrounding me, prepping me to get rushed to the Mater Hospital in Dublin for emergency surgery.
Unbelievable stuff. And you were very severely injured and indeed paralysed from the waist down. Did that become obvious to the medics early on that you were to be paralysed, Yusuf? Or
one thing that happened where the accident was is once I told them I couldn't move, that's when they sort of got the hint, and yeah, that's when they started to worry. You were transferred down to Dublin. You underwent operations. When were you told that you would never walk again? Because that's what you were told, isn't it? That was at the Letterkenny Hospital,
Okay.
as they were prepping to rush me to the Mater Hospital. Because when I woke up, I just remembered that I wasn't able to, move my legs. And then the first thing that came to my mind was to ask the doctor when he came to me. And I asked him if I'd be able to walk again. And instead of, giving a proper answer, he just sort of like looked down in disappointment.
Yeah, and you knew.
That's what
you knew in that moment. Outside of that injury, as severe as it was, did you suffer other injuries? Was there concerns over your survival, or were you stable at that point?
Survival part, I honestly have no idea. But injury-wise, like I broke my T3, T4 vertebrae, which is around like the mid-chest area, where I had a fixation. I think it's 12 screws and 2 large plates. And I also tore my ligament on the right side of my neck, I think.
Unbelievable. Okay, and how long were you in hospital for?
Altogether, 6 to 7 months.
And when you were told, and we'll talk about hopefully developments and hope and all that kind of stuff, but as a young lad who just woke up in this situation effectively, how did you deal with being told that you couldn't walk again? Because maybe that aligns with your personality and we're all different. What was your initial sort of feelings, or even as they developed over the months?
At first, it was like, I don't believe it. And like I had just turned 18, just started college. So, everything was going good. And this happened, and it's like, at first I didn't want to believe it. Then like anger and, being upset, sadness. But one thing I remember is they wanted to, because I had been in bed for 2 weeks at that point, and they wanted to put me in a wheelchair sitting. But it was one of those where somebody has to push you, and I did not want that. I'm like, get me like similar to my chair where I push myself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not getting into the chair.
That was like a red line for you.
Yeah, because I was like, that's not happening.
And when they started talking about rehabilitation and what you went through in Dublin, and then of course we'll bring Rachel into the convo because No Barriers here does amazing work in relation to that. Did you want to get involved in the rehabilitation? Did you sort of say, right, okay, I'm in this situation now, I'm going to try and do the best I can to get the most out of stuff that I can? Or what was your attitude towards rehabilitation in Dublin?
The first thing I did when I got my phone after the accident was I started, because nobody would tell me anything about the injury at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing all the research myself about the injury and what it entails, along with what like procedures and the stuff there are for this type of injury. That's like, I'm talking within the first week is when I started looking. The moment I got my phone, that's the first thing I did.
funny, isn't it? Rachel Mooney, physio at No Barriers Fitness. What do you remember, or your colleagues remember, of when you began to engage with Joseph, and what you were able or can do to help someone in his situation?
So it was, has that been 2 or 3 months now since you?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, so about 2 or 3 months ago, Joseph first came in, and we had a brief chat before that because we had liaised with Dublin, where he got the spinal cord stimulator implant. So we knew that.
Well, should I go back to that part of that story first, and then come to you?
Yeah.
You were told you'd never walk again. Talk to me about this implant. How long after the collision did this become? Was this sort of put to you, or did you pursue this yourself?
It was. See, the actual talks about this started on I think it was the 19th of April, which was my discharge meeting, and that's when we brought it up. And then from that point, I think it was give or take about a year and a half to do with all the preparations and everything.
And what were they able to tell you about this, that what it might be able to achieve? Because I suppose until the operation is done, the technology is inserted, you don't really know, I presume. So presume they're managing your expectations. What did they say may come of this operation?
Realistically, no one knows no one knew exactly what was going to happen, but what the chances, I guess you could say, of what that could happen is my tone and spasticity was ridiculous. That got reduced, which I don't think we mentioned that part. I can't remember 100%, but that part I wasn't expecting.
What's that?
Tone and spasticity. So
what does that mean, Rachel? What's that mean in layman's terms?
So usually, whenever you have a spinal cord injury, that would be one of the main problems or issues with spinal cord injury.
But how does that manifests?
It's the tone in your leg. So it's in the legs mostly. Yusuf has it a wee bit in his core as well. So it's tight. How would you describe it from your point of view? It's like tightening, stiffness.
Do you know? Let's say you're in bed all day, the whole day. The next day you get up out of bed and your legs are just stiff and you just can't walk.
I get you now. Yeah. Except it's more pronounced.
It's more pronounced. It makes transfers very awkward because your legs can just kind of fling out straight. You want them to sit and bend.
So the things that happen with me is, for instance,
is this after the surgery?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is even before. This is after
the spinal cord injury.
I'd wake up and I normally sleep on my side, so whenever I go from my side on to just to sit up, my legs full on start shaking.
Wow.
Shaking, and then my legs also start kicking, my knee would kick up.
Unbelievable. Never thought of that. So spontaneous stuff's happening. You can't feel below your waist, but this activity's happening.
Yeah.
Wow, I can only imagine what that must feel like. Stay with me. I do have to take a break because we will talk about the operation, the immediate aftermath of that, and of course the progress and work with Rachel and the crew at No Fitness Barriers. But I do have to take a short break.
Who's watching your home while you're asleep, at work, or on holiday? With the Sheridan Security Alarm System, you can be assured of round-the-clock monitoring. Our central monitoring station is on duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, monitoring homes and businesses in the Northwest for intruder, fire, panic, and medical signals, giving you the peace of mind you deserve. Sheridan Security Systems, Bonagee, Letterkenny, protecting what you value most. Call us for a free quotation on 9126. 6025.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for Mica affected customers. Don't forget to ask about our 5-day bathroom fit out. Call Milford Tiles on 083 091 0707.
Lock in your price in the Virgin Media Playhouse. Unlike some other providers, when you switch to us, we guarantee not to hike our prices during your offer period. So, superfast, reliable broadband can be yours from just €35 a month, guaranteed for the next 12 months. Lock in your price today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
Subject to location and availability. New broadband customers only. 500 meg, €35 a month for 12 months, €70 thereafter. Price lock means you won't receive a price increase while in this contract. T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie.
Joe Gallagher Entertainment presents Taylor Fever, the ultimate tribute to the sensational Taylor Swift, is making its way to the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny on Sunday the 18th of May. Hear iconic hits such as Ready For It, Shake It Off, Cruel Summer, Karma and many more. Tickets on sale from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie.
If you have PRSI, you can get free hearing devices at Specsavers. Now, we know what you're thinking. Oh, if they're free, they're bound to be those big old-fashioned ones that do this kind of thing, as well as this kind of thing. But actually, they just do this kind of thing. Amazing sound from a rechargeable piece of tech so small you can barely see it. All completely free. So book a free hearing check at Specsavers now, because OK Hearing is not OK. On hearing devices up to €1,000, terms and conditions apply. See our website for details.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Okay, so the weather forecast, we shall see plenty of cloud, just some limited sunny spells this afternoon. Patchy drizzle and mist will develop in the afternoon. Light rain will move into the west in the evening, temperatures 11 to 13 degrees. We're in conversation with Yosef Ghaffar, who was paralysed in a car crash in Letterkenny and has had a spinal cord stimulator, and that's the part of the story which we're going to get to shortly. Also in studio with us is Rachel Mooney, who's a physio at No Fitness Barrier, and we'll hear much more from Rachel as this story progresses. So, Yosef, I mean, you talked of your experiences, and really incredibly, for me as someone who hasn't gone through it, but can imagine I imagine it was very unpleasant. So, was it a no-brainer for you to get the spinal cord stimulator implanted? You didn't have to think twice about that, or did you?
No, I didn't think twice. Like, the moment I seen the implant online, like, the first thing I did was I messaged my brother, and because he's more, into tech than I am. So I messaged him, sent him the link, and I'm like, start doing your research, because I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even think about it. I was like, I just read, what I could do, and I was like, I want to do it.
Right. So post-op, when you woke up from the operation or you come round or whatever the scenario might be, was there an immediate impact?
It was immediate, yeah.
So what could you get? The sensation, a feeling, movement?
It was just, Kirk came in and asked me to try and move my legs. Like, at first, I didn't even know where to begin, because, like, I had no idea how to do it. But then I just tried lifting, like, my left knee up, and that's when my left knee, like, came up.
So it's able to transmit what your brain wants to do to the muscles. Rachel, what's your knowledge of how an implant like this works? Maybe we need Yosef's brother in.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
So there's the team down in Dublin that have been working with it.
Yeah.
So previously it's been used for like pain management and stuff. So this was the first one they actually, the first surgery they did in Ireland that has like for a spinal cord injury and for, I suppose, rehab purposes and getting those sort of benefits from it. So we and from a physio point of view, it's kind of unknown yet. What you would expect.
Exactly, and it's only unknown because we are breaking new grounds.
We're just at the start of
new
the journey.
barriers.
Yeah, exactly. So it's obviously really exciting, but from what Yosef experienced straight away with the difference in his tone, the first visit that he came into us, so he can turn the stimulator on and off himself, and percentages and stuff. There's different programs on it, which you kind of have to be very tech savvy to understand. But we understand the basics, and that's enough.
So Yosef, then he can he can tinker around the edges to sort of maybe get the best results as to what he wants and what comes from.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, from a physio's perspective, Rachel, how do you work with that? How do you try and get Yosef back up onto his feet, for an example?
Yeah. So whenever he came in initially, we assessed his tone and his presentation without any stimulation. So with it completely turned off, which was crazy then to see the difference whenever you turned it on. So he turned it on, and initially, like, so with tone, you find it very hard to actually passively move the leg. So that's me trying to bend his knee, bend his hip. Without the stimulator turned on, it was really, really, really difficult. And then as soon as he turned the stimulator on, it was completely free range of movement. There was no resistance against the movement at all. Which was kind of hard for me to get my head around at the start, because I was like, how is this even? Yeah,
because we're crossing over sort of consciousness and will into technology here, aren't we? Yeah,
and that was within 10 seconds. It just changed. So it was amazing in that sense. But as far as like his rehab goes and what it means in that way, it's exciting to see what we can do with the stimulator, and then with Yusuf in the exoskeleton. So
that's a very important piece of equipment that Yusuf can continue his rehabilitation here. Yeah. We've talked about that with your colleagues in the past. How is that assisting in Yusuf's rehab? Yeah.
So we're hoping that with continuous steps, with continuous exo use, we're going to see all the benefits of walking anyway, come into play for Yusuf. And
because I presume in terms of joints and muscles, they have to be built up to work with the stimulator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like for muscle mass, bone density, even like cardiovascular fitness, initially whenever Yusuf got into the suit, it was, you can imagine if you're sitting for a long period of time, and then like for years, and then you get up to stand before trying to do any movement in standing, like it's a lot for your body to adjust to.
How big of is it an advantage that A, I suppose Yusuf is young, and B, that this implant happened relatively soon after? Obviously a lot of muscle loss would already have occurred and all, but I presume it's in a really good space for Yusuf and use to maximize his potential.
100%. It's a good point to start this treatment, that it was in such quick succession after his injury. So we're lucky in that sense that we've started the intervention, we've started the rehab this early on, and we're already seeing good progress with his steps and even his tolerance for the sessions. It's very taxing. Yeah, it's like running a marathon, wouldn't you say? Like the first session.
So Yusuf, what can you do now, and what do you hope to be able to achieve?
Right now, it's sort of it all depends on energy levels. Like the same as if you're too tired, you don't want to walk. If you have energy, you can walk. It's the exact same thing. But like optimal energy, like I can move my toes up, I can bring my foot up, I can bring my knee up, I can isolate my left quad muscles, and it's better on the left leg than it is on the right leg. The right leg is just sort of worse for everything, just in general, the movement, spasms, tone, compared to the left. But the newest thing that that came is the isolating the left quad muscles. That's the newest thing that has happened. But we're hoping over time and with more practice and exoskeleton that there'll be more movement.
Your brain is looking to work with you. It's saying, right, this is what he wants to do. I'm going to have to figure out a way to do it to some extent as well. You're relearning, or your brain is learning how to work with you and with the stimulator, I presume.
Yeah, like even when it came to going on the exoskeleton for the first time, do you know how when you're walking, your arms generally move a bit?
Yeah.
I couldn't even remember how that works.
Yeah.
I had no idea how that worked.
And there's a function to that as well, presumably balance or whatever it might be.
Just a whole lot. I had no idea how to even try to walk.
Yeah. I seen an article that you're able to stand and walk. Is that where it's at, or is that slightly overstating where you are at the moment?
I would say, well, it's a mix of both.
Yeah,
in a sense, because when I have proper energy and everything, then there's a lot I can do, but as for just actually walking, that's not how it is yet.
But that
where
is
the goal.
Go. And also, too, you have to factor in as well, Rachel, the unimaginable trauma the body's gone through as well. I mean, that's presumably recovering from that and feeding into the progress here as well. Yeah, I would imagine, you know. So that's all part of it. And you're not setting targets, are you, Rachel? It's just maximising what he can do with his energy levels on a given day and moving forward like that.
Some days we get a really good session. Some days it'll be a wee bit everything comes into it. Sleep, nutrition, all that sort of stuff comes into it. And Yusuf's at college as well, and he's doing an intense law degree. So there's a lot of different factors that we're working with.
Well, it was a great team to be working with.
Yeah, he's doing.
And Yusuf, have you goals? Are you just happy with the progress? Are you happy that, right, I can't believe it, we've actually isolated this quad and I have some control over that, let's see what's next? Or are you saying, right, this is what I want to do? Or how are you coping or dealing with this more positive part of your recovery now?
See, at first, I was just I would have been happy with just a tiny bit of movement, but I didn't go in with high expectations. I just went in with low expectations to none. But now, I don't know what the ideal goal. I mean, the ideal goal would be to walk.
Yeah, but I think you're in a I think you've got the I don't know. It sounds to me like you've got the perfect balance of drive and expectations. Yeah. And I think, if you isolate your right quad, then all of a sudden you might reevaluate. I think you seem to be in a really good emotional space. Would you agree, Rachel?
100%.
In that, you're driven, but you'll see little goals at a time, and who's to say where you'll end up. Okay. Listen, it's fascinating stuff, Yusuf. Firstly, I'm sorry you had to go through all of this, right? And no one should have to, but it is a story of hope and inspiration as well too. And who's to say where technology is going and what implant might be available in 5 years' time? We just simply don't know. And Rachel, you continue the fantastic work that you're doing in No Barriers Fitness, of course. And it sounds like is most of the time a good lad to work with.
Most of the time.
I hope so.
Okay. Listen, thanks very much indeed. All right, it is the 9 till noon show. We'll be back with the news a little later than scheduled after we take this quick commercial break.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Running a business is never easy. That's why the National Enterprise Hub is focused on helping businesses access a wide range of government supports. We spoke to Conor O'Donovan, the head of the National Enterprise Hub, about the new free service.
The National Enterprise Hub is a new all-of-government service. It was designed to make it much easier for businesses from right across the country to access supports that they might be eligible to from across the government system. It's both digital and over the phone. It brings together over 230 supports from 24 different government agencies. And the whole idea is to put the business owner at the centre of the journey. We've made it really simple to access the supports online, but we've also got 6 people in our HQ in Dublin who are available to answer calls and take business owners through the steps to help them understand what they might be eligible for.
To engage directly with an advisor for support, visit neh.gov.ie or phone 01 727 2100.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore, 07495 325 75. If you're getting married in 2025, BizPrint can take care of all your printing needs. Not just invitations, but save the date cards, order of service booklets, table plans, and so much more. See what's available at weddinginvites.ie or call BizPrint on 91779 55.
If you need an eye test, look no further than Louis Walsh Opticians. Letterkenny's longest established opticians are delighted to welcome patients new and old to their state-of-the-art practice in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. Their latest technology includes a 3D OCT retinal camera which assesses the health of your eyes in minutes. Private, medical card and PRSI patients welcome. Call 91 21000 to arrange your eye test.
Louis Walsh Opticians Letterkenny. Your vision, our focus.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And at 2 minutes past 11, it's time for a news update. And it's good morning once again to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Opposition leaders will tell Concorla Verona Murphy they no longer have confidence in her. It follows chaos in the Dáil chamber yesterday during the latest saga in the speaking rights row. Opposition leaders have been meeting this morning, and once leader questions get underway at 12 noon, it's expected they will issue Verona Murphy with an ultimatum saying they no longer have confidence in her following yesterday's events. Speaking earlier, Sinn Féin Party Whip and Donegal Deputy Podger McLaughlin said it's clear that the Concorla was acting on the government's behalf, and that's why he has no confidence in her. There's calls for the Education Minister to issue a ministerial order to halt the relocation of the Donegal Education Centre from Donegal Town to Letterkenny. The centre is set to close in Donegal Town at the end of this month, despite much campaigning to retain it. Donegal Deputy Pat the Cope Gallagher is now calling on Minister Helen McEntee to issue a stay of execution order and for the Public Accounts Committee to conduct a review of the process. It's emerged occupational therapy waiting lists in Donegal are more than double than what was previously believed. Councillor Declan Meehan has received clarification that instead of the 476 people he was told last month were waiting on occupational therapy, it is in fact 1,037. The HSE says an administrative error led to the incorrect information being provided to Councillor Meehan. The Western Development Commission says rural towns in Donegal continue to make strides in sustainable transport. The Commission has published its Sustainable Mobility Index, which examines issues such as access to public transport, connectivity and active travel infrastructure. 8 small to medium-sized towns from the county are included in this survey. And a man is due in court today after being charged with a number of driving offences in Derry. The 30-year-old was stopped by police in the John Street area of the city yesterday afternoon. After that, he was charged with failing to have a driving licence, obstructing police, taking a motor vehicle without authority and using a motor vehicle without insurance. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Michaela, thank you very much. We'll be back after this short break.
Adam Harris here from As I Am, Ireland's autism charity. This World Autism Month, join the Same Chance Walk for Autism on Saturday, April 5th at Malahide Castle, Dublin, or Lough Key Forest Park, Roscommon. The Same Chance Walk is a great way to support us and raise much needed funds for autistic children, families and adults. We all deserve the same chance in life, but autistic people face barriers that others don't. Please help us to remove these barriers. Join us on April 5th or organise a walk in your local area by signing up at asiam.ie.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show. Now, as you would have heard on the show last week, SSPX Resistance, they opened they're operating now out of Derry. They were originally established in Cork, but they are conducting masses at the moment, as far as we are aware, in Derry. This led to the Bishop of the area expressing his concerns about governance and what have you. And the very Reverend Francis Bradley, parish priest of Buncrana, has also been speaking on this group. Father Bradley, thank you so much for your time. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning to all your listeners.
What's your assessment? I mean, obviously the Bishop chose his words very carefully and they aligned with comments we heard from church leaders down in and around the Cork area. You've spoken a little bit more, I think, more directly about SSPX Resistance. What's your understanding of this sect?
Well, I have to confess, I try not to learn too much about them because in the little that you do learn very quickly, it's like tasting something which immediately puts you off. You don't go back for another taste, or you don't sit down to a plate of it. you just leave it aside and just go on to something that is better for you. That's what I would say about SSPX resistance. They originally started, well, yes, in this country they may have started in Cork, but their roots go far beyond this country, essentially to France and to other parts of the world, back from the 1960s and early 1970s in the aftermath of the Second Vatican Council, which took place, of course, in the early 1960s. It finished in the mid-60s. So this group, or various manifestations of it, have been around in a while. This latest manifestation is, as is often the case in the history of the church in particular, is a more extreme version of the original. So it seems with the passage of time, whilst you might wish and hope that people would, for want of a better word, see sense and be moved by the Spirit of God, the fact that that word resistance is now added into the title of the group indicates something about where the spirit that they depend on comes from. So it's a very regrettable thing. I know that in your introduction there you mentioned how Bishop McKeown gave his opinion, let's say, on them, or his views, but he did more than that. He is teaching the diocese, we, the flock, who depend on him for leadership. He is telling us very clearly to avoid any contact with this group.
And you know, obviously there's SSPX and then the SSPX resistance. I mean, they're an organisation that I think believe they're even ahead of the Pope.
Oh, of course. You know, in the few words that I was interviewed yesterday by Kevin Barr of the Inshown Independent, and you know, he said one of the things, I said to him was, unfortunately, these people seem to be so filled with self-righteousness that they are more Catholic than the Pope. They insist, for example, on all their liturgies being in Latin, and there is nothing wrong with that. Latin is the language of the Church. Latin is the language in which I studied what I studied in Rome. There's nothing wrong with Latin, but it's like many other things. Every gift can be abused in some way. And in this case, it is being used as a Trojan horse, as it were, to deliver something which is, in fact, against the unity of the Church, and masquerades as feeding the hearts of the faithful, yet all the while undermining good faith. Now, one of the examples I would simply give you, I'm sure there are many people who are attracted perhaps to some elements of the liturgy that this group celebrate, and because Latin has had a great part to play in the history of Catholicism. After all, the Latin Mass, as in some ways that they celebrate, was the very ritual that kept our faith alive for centuries in times of terrible oppression. In fact, I'm talking to you at the moment from Father Hegarty's Rock here on the shores of Lough Swilly. We're here looking at the grave of the Dominican martyr who gave his life in defense of that very Mass and people's freedom to celebrate it. But many of the people who attend these liturgies in Latin, I'm sure they haven't a word of Latin. And the leaders of it even certainly have forgotten one very important Latin phrase, and that is ubi Petrus, ibi ecclesia. Peter is, there is the Church. And Peter for us is Pope Francis.
But
so where Pope Francis is, that's the Church.
But obviously, Father Bradley, there are differences of opinions within the Catholic Church, of course, and there are those that don't like maybe some of the stances that have been taken in certain areas, maybe in relation to, you know, gay marriage, or that maybe the Catholic Church is changing its ethos really to try and align itself more with modern society, and that groups like SSPX and SSPX resistance are exploiting that, or actually speaking to those who are of the view that the church is changing its ethos too much. Do you have any sympathy for anyone who feels, apart from the current Catholic Church, as I say, given its moral stance on certain issues?
Well, I can perhaps understand why someone might have a passing fascination with something that perhaps appeals to them for just a moment. But I would ask those people to reflect carefully and to pray earnestly, because it's not that the Catholic Church aligns itself with modern fad or fashion in order, as it were, to be more appealing. The Church is always in need of renewal. The Church grows. It's not a monolith. It's not something that doesn't change. We have this notion that nothing changes in the Church. The Church is forever changing and has forever changed. A brief glance at the history of the Church will tell you that. But what the Church has always had to do very carefully in terms of many of the heresies that were preached down through the years that appealed to people for a time and seemed to sell them some half-baked version of the truth, the Church nevertheless had to remain steadfast and resolutely, gently but effectively teach what is the truth.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I could also do another half an hour talking to you about Father Hegarty's rock and his history, but we don't have time for that, and I'm sure you've other things to do. Maybe again.
We might do that very soon again.
I would enjoy that.
Much.
Thank you so much. That's the Very Reverend Francis Bradley, parish priest of Buncrana, 08660 25,000, if you wish to get involved in that conversation in any way, shape or form. A caller asks, does no barriers work with young people with health conditions such as muscular dystrophy, or is it only people who have injuries as a result of an accident? It's not confined to those with injuries as a result of an accident. What I would suggest you do, because they're a great team over there, is to give them a call and ask them directly. They work with many, many different groups of individuals, and I don't want to do them a disservice in that regard. So give them a ring. They're very friendly people, and talk about your situation. And hopefully that'll come to a good resolution for you. Why is the civil registration office closed at the primary care centre in Buncrana? We talked about this. This is deaths and marriages as well. It seemed to be a decision that was made, and we huffed and we puffed a little bit, and then it just comes to pass. And then as you go to try and use these facilities, you realise, if you didn't know already, that they've moved. I can't rack my brains just off the top of my head to tell you the reasons why. Normally it's about resources and staffing and centralising of services. Another caller says, this country has gone down the tubes. A leader of the House siding with a government that was not elected by the people. You had the opposition not happy with what went on. You had a TD putting two fingers up to the people of Ireland to say, I will get what I want, taking a minute away from other people, taking minutes away from other people to prevent other members to have a say. That's the Fine Gael and Fine Gael government for you, they say. It's interesting to hear from Brendan Byrne, who's very politically astute, saying that it's not too late for Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil to cut ties with Michael Lowry, and that they believe, and he is of the view that now is the time that they should, if they haven't done so, and which they haven't done so already. Hi Greg, have you learned anything about Letterkenny Hospital being oversubscribed at the moment? Says a listener. My dad's been waiting in the ED for over 24 hours now and still not seen a doctor. He was triaged late last night, but nothing since. No facilities for making tea or coffee and no cups of water. A caller says, I know you sometimes post updates regarding the hospital, and that was actually a message that was sent direct to me on Facebook by another concerned son or daughter. We were speaking to another texter whose two parents actually referred to hospital. They were there 18 hours before they were moved into the next section of the hospital, which was not them actually getting treatment. It was just them in behind the doors of the ED. Last night, contacted by this concerned daughter, their parent in there for 24 hours. I'm not sure what age he is, but people are supposed to be seen within 6 hours. And there's two instances, one 18 hours plus another 24 hours. You know, what is left to say? What is left to say about that situation? Right, the Letterkenny Chamber were considering what to do, as you would know, due to the tragic events that occurred in the early hours of St. Patrick's Day. A late decision, and the right decision, everyone agrees, was taken to postpone the St. Patrick's Day parade. So there was some talk about maybe, redoing it again, maybe have an Easter parade, and all of that had to be talked through, and there's a lot to organise there. You have to have the businesses' points of view, of course, but it's about who's available to participate, how productive it might be and all that. So they considered all of that during a meeting yesterday. And they released a statement which said, given the multiple requests to reschedule the St. Patrick's Day parade to Easter, the committee has reviewed all the cost and safety implications for both the business community and participants, and they've decided that it is not feasible to proceed with an alternative Easter event. They say, we understand the need to cancel this year's event was disappointing for everyone who had planned to take part, as well as the many volunteers, community groups and organisers who had put so much work in behind the scenes. They say, we're incredibly grateful for your continued support, and we now look forward to the rest of this year's events with renewed energy and community spirit. And that's the Buskin Festival and all other stuff that's ongoing and will be ongoing over the course of the year. But the decision was made, and I can understand this, that it was not feasible to reschedule the St. Patrick's Day parade and have an Easter event for lots of stuff that they would be able to consider that maybe we would not. Right. Hi, Greg. You should have asked Pat the Cope Gallagher how Ballabafay would be more central for people travelling from Fannet Head, Carragart, Falcarra and Gweedore, not forgetting Inishowen. Well, that's it. I mean, I'm not a teacher or an SNA in Carragart or Malin for that matter. We hear predominantly in terms of service users that this is a negative move, but I have not at the same time been inundated or in fact received any, as far as I'm aware, correspondence from people who would use this service, teachers, SNAs from other parts of the county that aren't in South Donegal, saying, no, this is great now, Letterkenny is good. So if you are those people, please get in touch with us, because I can only be guided by what comes into us. Of course, we do our research beyond that, but there are big Facebook groups opposed to it moving to Letterkenny. There are very well-attended public meetings against it being moved to Letterkenny. There are question marks being raised about the process and how the decision was brought to and the timing of that. And then we have a statement from the people who are responsible for making that decision. There isn't a massive amount of people contacting us or making Facebook groups or having public meetings in favour of it. So that's guiding what we can do on it. You know what I mean? So if you're in favour of it, come on. If you made the decision or helped make the decision, we really want to speak to you. Hi, Greg. Why not have yellow and red cards in the Dáil to control matters? Yellow as a warning and red to leave the room. Why not have a naughty step? If they can't control themselves, I'm not sure what we could do. At the end of the day, the opposition would be unhappy that they received the yellow and red cards, and the government would all be sitting there intact. Who's going to determine that? Is it the Camcorla? It's an interesting suggestion. A caller says, our new government is now a dictatorship by pushing through a bill without any debate. I would also like to say that morally you can't speak for and against the government at the same time. We're now following the dictatorship type of countries that we see daily pushing to their own gains, and the morally upright are trampled upon to stop them making a decision that honest and upright people believe in the common good. What I will be, and I actually wrote it down in a little diary I have, if there is a change of government, how quickly that such a decision would be reversed, because I have a long memory, and let's just say there is a snap election or a change of government after 4 or 5 years, it's led by Sinn Féin or whoever it might be. I will watch on with great interest to see how quickly it is moved to return to the old way of doing things, or would it be retained? I don't know. You have to ask these questions.
Heading off on holiday? Don't forget to park to relax. Travelling for business? Well, then just park to work. Flying for a city break? Simply park to explore. No matter where you're going, you'll find safe, secure shuttle parking just 6 minutes from the airport at Dublin's newest airport car park, Park2Travel. Book online today and use the code Park2Travel now before March 31st to get 15% off. Park2travel.ie. For when you need to park to, well, travel.
Want to keep your brain and eyes at their best? Try Remind, the super strength omega-3 supplement backed by Irish science. Remind's unique formula with carotenoids and 900 milligrams of omega-3s delivers essential nutrients for brain and vision health. And to see how your nutrient levels measure up, try the Life Meter scan. Available this April at Healthwise pharmacies. In just 1 minute, a quick fingertip scan provides valuable health insights. Book your free Life Meter test and support your brain and eyes with Remind.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Ballyshannon should attend the clinic in Coláiste Columkill in Ballyshannon on Monday 24th of March. Donors from Killybegs should attend the clinic in St Catherine's School on Tuesday 25th, and donors from Donegal Town and Dunglow should attend the clinic in the Abbey Hotel in Donegal on Wednesday 26th and Thursday 27th. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 or visit our website to book your time. New donors are vital. Visit giveblood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
Summer is just around the corner, and it's now time to shop for your dream garden furniture at Easy Living Furniture. We've got a huge range of garden furniture and accessories at unbeatable prices, and if that's not enough, we'll throw in free delivery on all garden furniture. Transform your garden or patio for the ultimate al fresco dining experience. Don't miss out. Come in today to grab these incredible deals before they're gone. Only at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link, Derry, Londonderry.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
The time now on this Wednesday afternoon is approaching 24 minutes past 11.
Business Matters on Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. If you have an idea to start or grow your business within Donegal, contact the Local Enterprise Office to find out more about the supports available for businesses. See localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Okay, we welcome into studio with us Chris Ashmore, the presenter and producer of Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast. Chris, how are you getting on? How's your week going?
Very good, Greg. Excellent.
Good stuff. Excellent. Right, lots to get through. Let's start with a bit of news. And if you've a bit of spare change down the back of the couch and you want to buy a hotel, this feature's not for you. But if you have money and you want a hotel, well, we might have better news.
Yeah, well, there's a family-run hotel in Inishowen that's on the market, the Ballyliffin Townhouse Hotel and Spa. Many of the listeners may be familiar with it. It was actually built in 2004, so it has its traditional bar and lounge dining area and a very nice spa with 2 Canadian hot tubs. I have, so it's up for sale, and it'll be interesting. It'll now price on application, so I'm not sure how much you personally have to fork out, Greg, but it'll be interesting just to see sort of as a barometer of the hotel industry.
I think the lovely owners of that hotel at one point invited me to stay there for some reason or other. I think it was because we covered an issue or something, and I didn't get round to it. But I've passed it and it looks lovely. So hopefully they have a lovely future for themselves planned. Indeed. And I've no doubt it will be snapped up. Because it's an excellent going concern in a brilliant area, and an area that's on the rise too, with the golf and everything else. But it's also bloody beautiful, isn't it?
And they invested back in 2022 in this spa and wellness centre. So ticks a lot of the boxes.
For sure. We need more houses, Chris. Any news?
Yeah, just PJD Construction, who have a number of developments around the county, including in Letterkenny. Well, planning permission has just been granted for 40 new homes in the Killylaston area of Letterkenny. That's a mixture of 2 and 3 bedroom houses. So there's a steady flow of new applications. If you look at the council's website, it's very easy these days to find out what's happening, planning permissions, and there is an increase in the number of applications. Slow process, but they're coming.
And I think we're going to get to that point whereby, in fairness, it was just before the boom. And do you remember all the unfinished housing estates that were scattered all over the place out the Ballabafay Road, past Finn Harps there, or outside Glenties? It was remarkable, wasn't it? These ghost estates.
Yeah, and
do you
just
remember
on that
no,
point.
sorry, this is no disservice to what's happening now. It's just, we were building so much and then the arse fell out of it, right? It'd be great to start seeing the construction happening.
Yeah, and some of those actually in recent times there's been a number of planning permissions in to get those
back into
the reignited, and some of them will need more work than others to sort of get back to square one. But at least that is happening.
Yeah, it just seemed like at one point, and maybe it's just I'm looking back with rose-coloured glasses, that there were houses being built on the outskirts of every town and village in the county. Obviously now we're in a different financial environment, so they would be concluded. Power. We need lots of power.
Now this is a big issue. Ireland's electricity demand is forecast to increase by 45% in the next decade, and of course we're aware of the data centres taking up a lot of that electricity, maybe 20, 25, even more % of that. So EirGrid, the electricity grid operator, has been forecasting what's needed. We are going to need a lot more power being generated. It also opens the questions of these interconnectors with the north.
Well, we have
and
that.
France.
We also have that delicious nuclear power streaming into us from France from next year or the year after.
So it's a topic. There's lots of strands to it. Sometimes there can be, I don't want to say scaremongering, but there's pressure on for new connections to be made to the grid, and the grid itself, and this is one of the problems also, that in parts of the country, yes, you may be able to generate power through solar or wind, but the connection to the grid is too weak. You need to have the stronger lines. So there's a lot happening there, and it's absolutely vital for the economy that, again, like the Irish Water, Chris, the utilities, we need to have the infrastructure in place.
And you know, you see, this is what the problem sometimes in this country is right. The ESB in 2 years make 1.5 billion in profits. They say they're using that as leverage to borrow at a ratio of 3-1 to invest in the network. But people need to see the network improved. They need to see more resilience to storms. They need to see that our wind generation or solar generation actually feeds into the network. They need to see there are places to charge cars. But we don't see that. So when you hear, oh yeah, we made 1.5 billion euro in profits, your bills are skyrocketing, but don't worry, we're investing. Well, where is this investment going? Is it just running, 3 pin plugs to data centers? Because if it was articulated to us and it was explained to us as to genuinely where this multiples of billion is being invested, they don't have generators at every power hub. And people run out of water and power for 6 or 7 weeks. So where is this extortionate profit multiplied by apparent borrowing investment? Where is the benefit of it? Or are we just mushrooms? And you know what they do to mushrooms, don't you, Chris? You know how they make them grow, don't you?
Tell me, Greg.
Well, they keep them in the dark and feed them.
Well, time will tell. At least, you can argue, at least they are making a profit, that some of which can be put back into investment. But I get your point.
Did you hear a word I said? Where is the investment?
Well, we shall see.
A third of the power in the next 10 years, a third of the power is going to be drawn by IT centres. Yeah. Oh, not IT centres, data centres. Tell us the benefit of that. Explain why that's a good thing. And if so much of that power is being drawn by data centres, why aren't they charged more? And there's a benefit to the household, consumer, or the business people. We invested in this network. We built this network that a third of the power is being drawn by data centres. To what end? Why are small businesses being crucified with high power? Charge these data centres more. Maybe they can create their own electricity and leave the rest for us. But that's what if I were in government, if I was a TD, that's what I would be doing. Incentivise it for us to support the data centres, charge them more, charge our small businesses less.
And there is a bit of spin on this as well, because some of the data centre backers are, of course, saying, well, we're not going to come to Ireland because we don't think there is going to be enough power. So they're putting pressure on. So it's all in the big ready mixer out there, and look, we're going to hear a lot more about it.
Because of lobbying and the exchange of finances in a very legal way, those decisions are made not in the Dáil, where people are screaming at each other for speaking rights. They're made in the lobby of a nice hotel in Dublin. And I'm not saying anything toward is going on. I'm just saying that's what lobbying is. We only hear half of it. Okay, right now I'm going to breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. whilst you tell us about a great success for a Donegal firm.
Yes, Celsius was named as the winner of the Technology Award at the Guaranteed Irish Business Awards in Dublin. Now, this company currently based in the Gweedore Business Park, but they're going to be moving to Falcarra as they continue to expand. What they do is they're basically involved in wireless temperature monitoring systems, so be it your big fridges in your Tesco or also very much in the pharmaceutical and healthcare industries, the life science industry as they call it. They've been hugely successful exporting their products to 47 countries around the world, so everything from supermarket chains to restaurants and hotels. And, getting those temperatures for all sorts of reasons, particularly with food safety and making sure things don't go off, they are able to put in a system there that gives you paperless monitoring. So they've certainly carved out a niche market there and taking on more people. Recently they took on additional people on the sales side of things, and as I mentioned, they're going to be going into a new premises in Falcarra. So it's a big Donegal success story, and well done indeed to them on that award.
Good news. And Brenda Hegarty, some news on Brenda?
Yeah, just to let you know, there's a upcoming workshop. It's a navigational digital transformation basically for businesses, an opportunity to find out about funding options in relation to digital technology. And if you just go to the local enterprise website, you can find out more about that. Brenda Hegarty, Head of Enterprise, will be on a panel with a number of other speakers there.
I do have to jam in a quick break before we get on to what's coming up on the podcast this week. So stay there, everybody.
Hi, Ma'am. Yeah, we've hit the road. Should be there in about an hour. They're so excited to see you. Everyone, say hi to Granny.
With up to 7 seats, the all-new Volkswagen Tayron has more space for families of all shapes and sizes and breeds. Also available as plug-in hybrid. Search Volkswagen Tayron or visit your local dealer.
George, I told you to go before we left.
Volkswagen.
Order your 251 with Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny. See connolly's.ie.
Tesco Club Card gives you the power to more, helping you celebrate Easter. Have a cracking time with selected Easter eggs like Kit Kat Chunky, Smarties and Milky Bar, 3 for €4. And hop to it with large Easter eggs like Cadbury Cream Egg, Crunchy and Twirl, 4 for €10. Get more from your shop with your Tesco Club Card or app. Shop in-store or online. Tesco. Every little helps. Available in most stores. Prices vary in Express. Quotas may apply.
Ensure the safety of your team with SIFTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SIFTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact siftech.ie today.
Every Irish person knows there's nothing quite as powerful as a good cup of tea. So on May 1st this year, please join the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland's Tea Day and help provide vital care and services for those living with dementia and their families. Sign up today at teaday.ie.
Building a new home? Discover next generation comfort with the new award-winning Dail Eireann R290 heat pump, delivering exceptional performance with quiet operation. The Dail Eireann R290, heating for the future. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.ie.
Step into Evolve Clothing at Letterkenny Retail Park for a vast suiting selection. 2- and 3-piece suits in all sizes and styles. Explore our suiting department and discover unbeatable value and wedding packages.
I'm still with Chris Ashmore. What's on the podcast today, Chris? Because it is live today, by the way, in our listen back section on demand and all that jazz.
Yes. Well, my guest this week is Anthony Kernan, who's the managing director of the Kernan Group. Many people will be familiar with the filling stations and food stores around Donegal, also a couple in Mayo, and Kernan's have a number of cafes, diners, you know. So now Anthony himself, in Interesting story, because as a youngster, soccer was his big interest. At the age of 15, went over to the UK, and at the age of 17, signed professional terms with Wolverhampton Wanderers, made a number of appearances, broke into the first team, and then he got a really bad knee injury.
It happens more often than we hear, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Young lads and girls now on the brink of something, and then...
So change of tack, came back, went to college, and then went into the family business, which was a food store in Newton Cunningham. And that was the start of things, took things over. They relocated, and the Kernans that we know today, just off the main road between Derry and Letterkenny, that was the new store then. And a second shop opened in Ramelton. And then over time, it grew and grew. And hey, now, and we'll hear this in this clip, and something I spoke to Anthony about, and you'll be well aware of this, Greg. You know, we get a new factory opened with 60 jobs, and there's a bit of a fanfare, and we get everybody there. People maybe underestimate the number who are working in the retail sector, and stores like your local Kernans. Now, the Kernan Group, believe it or not, actually employ over 350 people. That's a lot of wages.
One of them was my son.
A lot of wages go into the local
you know, Anthony,
economy.
if you're listening, look after him, will you? He's a good lad.
So we'll hear a little bit.
I'm not finished.
Oh, right. I thought you were going to play the clip.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Come on,
right.
Anthony. Sort it out. He's very well looked after. Come on, he's got so much ambition. Go ahead.
So we'll hear now. So I spoke to Anthony just a little bit about the business and how it's grown. Over the years, Anthony, as the business has expanded, employment has gone up. What are we talking about numbers-wise between part-time and full-time? It must be pretty substantial.
It's around 350. Maybe a little bit, probably gets a little bit more than that, peak time, summertime and stuff like that, but that's the number. People are always surprised when they ask me how many people we employ. But, I mean, we're open at 7 in the morning till 11 at night, 7 days a week. And because we've got plenty of stuff going on in most of our stores, that's the sort of employment we give.
And from the start to now, that you've had no doubt a number of very loyal employees and people who've been there from an early stage.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 that have been there since as long as me. And then I'm lucky that I've held on to my very, very good staff, and my management team is made up of people that have been there 20 years. So they know the business and they've grown up with it, and every decision that's been made, they've been part of that.
Yeah, fair play to Anthony, great employer, great business as well. But, you know, Chris, you alluded to this before the clip and during the clip as well, as we listened intently. You know, there was a time if 100 jobs were announced in pharmacy or something, pharmaceuticals, you know, you'd have the tarnister up cutting the tape. And here we have, you know, a local business person, a local business employing 350 plus, not to mention the hundreds in addition to that they'll get through college effectively with summer work and what have you. And you know, I think we need to appreciate, if we don't already, the importance of this sector and the importance of these workers and businesses like Kernan's. They're not going to run off when the money runs out. They're there, you know, they're there supporting themselves and paying big bucks in wages.
Yeah, and also they're always very good supporters of community events and local sponsorship, and they're putting money into the community, they're getting money back out to it, so they play an important role. And some of the smaller towns, you know, they might be really the hub of the town, and people meet, and some of them would have a post office as well. And just another point that I asked them about the filling stations, because obviously it's a numbers game. When people come in, you put your €30 into the car for petrol or diesel, whatever. But if we've more and more electric cars, you know, is that going to be a drop off in trade? But, you know, he thinks it's going to take a long time before we get to that stage. And who knows what's going to happen. And there's quite a few, I see companies down the country, some of the bigger chains still investing heavily in forecourts.
Well, I don't think we've got to I mean, BVD have just released a car now. They're the big Chinese company, big electric car company, and they've introduced a car now that charges to 75-80% in 5 minutes. So you're talking plugging it in, going in and getting your bottle of Lucozade and get back into your car and away. And that is the game-changing element of this. It's the speed. Because I watch and I've driven electric cars, and I'm a big advocate of their. Not an advocate. That sounds like I promote them, but I think they're great. But 25 minutes. You might say, well, it's only 25 minutes, but we don't live our lives like that anymore. So if you can plug in, get a decent bit of range, 75-80% range in 5 minutes, well, then that's the game changer.
Absolutely.
And then you make sure those chargers are everywhere, and then those chargers can be in petrol stations, and then we can start using those cars like we do traditional vehicles. But BVD in China making massive gains in relation to that. Briefly, any jobs going, Chris? Because I'm always looking to. I've been at this now for 25 years, and I've been able to accumulate nothing except great contacts and happy memories. But I need something to retire with. Anything going?
Yeah, maybe you want to reach some new heights. The Irish Air Corps, they're looking for a pilot.
Oh, great.
Yeah, now looked into this. They've basically a fleet of 8 planes, if you want to join up. And 8
fighter jets.
Yes. Well, limited. They can be armed, and you'll receive a competitive salary.
Yeah.
And when you complete your 6 months of basic training, you'll be starting off at around 38,000 a year.
I presume I need to have some ability to fly. The 6 months won't cover that.
I presume so. I'll send you the link, and you can start ticking the boxes. It'd be interesting to see just what sort of replies they get.
I know exactly what it'll be.
Good little story there.
It'll be by other elements of the Defence Forces. It'll just be a training camp. Because unfortunately that's what happens. People train up and move on into the private sector. Wow, is that controversial? I don't know. Let's get enough staff, right, to get our Navy on the water to police the fishing grounds. Let's do that. And then we'll start worrying about having jets that will fly over Croke Park as Michael D. Higgins or Conor McGregor waves up at them. Let's get our boats out doing the jobs that they need to be doing rather than having tied up. Right, I'm being controversial. It's only the business using it. All right, Lee. All right, Chris, thanks so very much indeed.
John.
Chat to you, John Bresson. Chat to you next week, all being well.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be back with more after these.
Cut your business energy costs with cost.ie. We compare top electricity suppliers to find you the best rates, saving you time and money. Simple, fast and hassle-free. Switch today. Call Paul on 086 198 3894.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. It's the time of year when poor driving conditions are causing accidents. But did you know that a scratched wing or dent repair which needs a respray can only be done legally by a certified operator who holds a valid certificate of approval from Donegal County Council? The body shop or garage must display a valid certificate proving they have been inspected and meet the requirements of the Deco Paints legislation and best practice guidelines for vehicle refinishing. For an up-to-date list of certified operators, check the Council's website or phone us at 9153 900. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
Happy Mother's Day. Treat your mum this Mother's Day to a bottle of perfume or a cosmetics gift from McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. You'll find Chanel, Calvin Klein, Dolce & Gabbana, Elizabeth Arden and many more. Great value for great mums this Mother's Day. See in store or order online at mcgees.ie. McGee's, where the best costs less.
This Mother's Day, treat your mum to a beautiful bouquet of flowers from Annie's Flowers and Gifts in Letterkenny. Call 917740 or order online at anniesflowers.ie. Make it special this Mother's Day with Annie's Flowers and Gifts, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
A largely dry day with plenty of cloud and just limited sunny spells. Patchy drizzle and mist will develop, temperatures 12 to 13 degrees. Joined on the programme now by Darren Murphy, the now former Finn Harps manager. Darren, thanks so much for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Craig.
How are you getting on?
Hi, not too bad. It's been a whirlwind few hours. Obviously, the disappointment of having to leave my role yesterday evening. It was some difficult conversations, obviously, with the chairman and then with the players and the staff. So a very, very difficult decision for me. I've been there now over 2 years. I've been quite openly said it for a long time. The people of Donegal have been absolutely fantastic for me. Even last year was difficult for me on a personal level when I lost my father in September. And the people around the football club and the people around the county were so supportive, and it's obviously something that'll stick with me for the rest of my life. So coming to the decision of having to step away from a role, contrary to reports, I wasn't sacked. There's been no falling out. I had a really good conversation with Ian yesterday. I have nothing but utmost respect for Ian Harkin, the current chairman of Finn Harps, and I know it was obviously a difficult decision for him to allow me to walk away from a contract. But when we sat down and we had the conversation, I don't ever think the relationship between myself and Ian has been a football manager and a chairman. It's been people that, you know, have a utmost respect for each other, and he understood the situation that I was in, and to be fair, he allowed me the permission to speak to the club involved. Nothing's been finalised there either. There's been a few conversations, but you know, there's been nothing that's concrete. But I felt once I wanted to go and speak to the club involved, it sort of meant that I just wasn't fully 100%.
Yeah, and I think actually, Darren, that you've been. I mean, you ultimately have to be fair to yourself, right? But I think you've been very fair to Finn Harps in that you could have chatted to Loughgall on the QT, but you know, such is your relationship with the club and in personal relationship, and I think that adds an extra layer. You know, if you're open to that, it does. You know, you sort of have to say, well, even if it's not obvious to myself, how committed am I? Because you're a guy who's going to want to give 110%, Darren, and I presume that's what you're weighing up in calls like this.
Yeah, no, look here, the bottom line is that, you know, I've had I've had a fantastic relationship. You know, I always remember back when I joined the Irish Football Association along with Jim Magilton. Jim's a very good football ally of mine, and he said, he gave me 2 bits of advice. He says, Darren, football's a beautiful game, it's a horrible business. And he says, the only thing that'll surprise you in football is surprises. It certainly was a surprise to me that the opportunity, has come this way. There has been maybe other opportunities over the past 2 years, but nothing's really, interested me. It's been well documented. I live within 3 miles of the football club, so it's something that
it's part of the negotiations, Darren, that you can't mention their name. Is the cat's out of the bag, Darren? You can chill. What was I going to say to you? Was there's? I think that is there, and we've the local knowledge here, and I'd love actually because stuff on the internet's there forever, and I'd love particularly RTE to rephrase their article because it does sort of give a different impression. Okay, we locally know that Finn Harps aren't in a position anymore and maybe they never were, to buy in big established players. You have to develop your own players, get that link between the academy and the first team going right, and if that means you create a great talent, understanding that you might not be able to hold on to them. You're going to have to flog them, right, and hope they make it big somewhere else and bring some money into the club. And that's part of it. So it's not as much as a result-based business as football often is on the face of it. Are you leaving a bit of yourself on the table in that there's a job there that you were perhaps enjoying doing, bringing those players through, building the future of the club that will go undone from your perspective now?
No, I don't think it'll go undone. I did with great interest listen to the other social media outlets. Talked about Finn Harp's 70-word statement. Sometimes it doesn't need to be long-winded. If you look at the facts of the statement, what was very pleasing for me was that myself and Ian and the rest of the board and the staff that I have with me sat down 18 months ago, and the clear vision was to try and create a pathway. And what's pleasing for me is the football club have recognised that and recognised the time and the commitment I've given to that. I have, openly said to Ian yesterday that I feel the men that I've left behind, and Kevin McHugh, Tommy Canning and Eamon Curry are the right men for the job, because they aligned themselves to me and they seen how I thought. Again, we haven't been able to get it out there in the public domain. We have 7 players away on international
That's
duty.
remarkable, isn't it?
For a club of our size and a county of our size, it's an astonishing achievement, and that's covering both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. We have 3 young lads representing Northern Ireland, 2 at under 15 level, 1 at under 17 level. Then we have another 3 young lads covering Ireland at under 19, under 18 and under 17, and then we have a young girl away with Ireland as well. So we as a football club, again, we probably haven't promoted that the way that we should have, but it does show me that we're making small steps. Obviously, the next step is that we would like, as you just said, Craig, get somebody away to, if they get somebody away to England or they get somebody away then, and Ian deserves a lot of credit. I know he done a piece last week and he talked about that the brunt of the criticism should be landed at his door, because it's a path that the club have decided to go down. But I was one that agreed with him. I think it's the right way. I will be at Finn Park Friday the 4th of April to watch the Longford game. So to diminish all the rumours that there's certainly been no fallout. As I say, it was a hugely difficult decision for me and my family, but it's one that I've come to. And again, I'm pleased somebody like yourself has seen me in and around the area. You're either all in or you're not.
Yeah, for sure, 100%, and that's understandable. And when you get the club that's offering shares in the club and they want public buy-in, it's because they understand that there's a building process going on, and it's not about necessarily success this season. It's about there being a club there to play in the new ground in 5, 10, 15 years to come, and you've played your role in that. And I think, Darren, outside of sport and on a personal level, I know exactly what it's like when you lose someone that you look up to that's very important to you, and you're travelling far from home and there's pressure and all. It looks like maybe, you need a bit more time to throw a few 180s, maybe hit a couple all-in-ones, or even 7-ball someone. I'm looking over your shoulder here. I'm wondering, how the hell do you get a man cave like that?
I haven't really had much time to spend in this room. No, look here. The strange scenario of being a football head coach is that you bury your father on Thursday, and then Friday you're expected in the dugout. That's just how the game works, but again, it's something that'll live with me a long time. The support that I received, the amount of people from Donegal that came to my house and then obviously came to the funeral, is something that sits with me, and that did play a part. As you say, probably I now have a wee bit of time where I have a bit of downtime where I can maybe sort of gather all them thoughts, but it's definitely a football club that I will be back at. I will certainly be at games at Finn Park. That's something that I would urge the local politicians in the county of Donegal is to strive and help Finn Harps eventually get that new stadium up and get it running, because the amount of work now that the football club is doing right throughout the county and the community, from the boys, the girls, the disability teams, the community work that's being done is fantastic. And when I sat down with Ian and we talked about the way that he wanted the club to go, and I was totally agreeing, the one thing I said to him is, you're not building a football team for one season, you're now trying to rebuild a football club, and that's important. And I have played a very, very small part in that, and I am 100% certain that Ian, the rest of the board and the current staff there will continue in the pathway.
And maybe now is Kevin McHugh's time as well. I mean, he lives and breathes and bleeds that club.
He certainly does.
Maybe it's maybe it's time. Listen, Darren, hopefully the negotiations with Loughgall go well and you'll get the time that you need and that work-life balance. We wish you all the success in that. If it's not that, it'll be whatever's meant to be, isn't that right? And thanks for your time up here. We wish it were longer, it weren't, but as I say, you've laid a few of those blocks on which the foundations of a brilliant club will be built even stronger into the future. And we wish you nothing but good health and happiness, Darren.
Just on that, Craig, I would just like to thank yourselves there in Highland Radio. I knew you were talking to a really good man, and Chris there just before. I'd like to thank him as well for all his support and help, and all you guys for giving us the airtime that you have done, and I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you all soon.
Right, rack them up. Open me a bottle of Budweiser. I'll be there in 10.
I'm trying to hit a 180.
I'm still waiting. All right, I could get my 120s with 140s. I'm still waiting on the 180. All right, Darren, God bless you. Take care to you and yours.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. That's Darren Murphy, the former Finn Harps manager there. And on that note, that's where we leave it for another Wednesday. Thank you so very much to all of you who listened to the show, or if you chose to watch the show. If you text in, we're going to have to carry some of those calls and comments over till tomorrow because it is so blooming busy, you know. But thank you very much. Everything's appreciated. But that's where we leave it till 9 tomorrow morning.